A few quotes that I would like to share and for us to ponder on from our great African presidents. The first quote, "I am an African. I owe my being to the hills and the valleys, the mountains and the glades, the rivers and the deserts, the trees and the flowers, the seas and the ever-changing seasons that define the face of our native land." Second quote to ponder on. Africa's story has been written by others. We need to own our problems and solutions and write our story. We are delighted to announce that we have a very special program planned for you all, and I hope you all enjoy. Let us start with a few ground rules. I'd like to begin, which you already have all done. Could you please put your microphones on mute? Thank you. The program that we have right ahead of the program that we would be starting off with an opening prayer. This prayer, as we all are from different diverse backgrounds, will be 1 minute silence. Then we'll start off with a 1 minute silence for our fallen heroes, for our people who lost their lives during this challenging time, all around the world, and especially the ACP countries. Then we'll also be enlightened with our president, our Madam President, Dr. Jacinta Limba, with our opening speech. After we have in tune for you guys is an introduction from all the executive members, just for you to get to know us. Straight after that, we have an introduction to ACP-DYSS from Stephen Chibo. After that, we'll also be having a presentation from our delighted directors. We'll end that with a discussion and question and answers where you can engage with us. So, as I suggested earlier on, can we start off with a 1 minute opening prayer in silence, more like a personal reflection, if you don't mind, in silence. Thank you. Just before I start talking, can we also have 1 minute silence for all the fallen people, please? Thank you. Thank you very much for being patient. Now it's my great honor to welcome an opening speech by our truly and own Madam President, Dr. Jacinta Limba.
Thank you, Ikram. Our guest of honor, Her Excellency Mrs. Harriet Senacial Boateng, the Ambassador of Ghana to the Kingdom of Belgium, Her Excellency Mrs. Teneng Bah Jita, the Ambassador of the Republic of Gambia to the Kingdom of Belgium, Her Excellency Professor Esther Munalula Nkandu, the Ambassador of Zambia to the Kingdom of Belgium, and the Ambassador of the Dominican Republic to the Kingdom of Belgium, duly represented by Mrs. Angela Pingliota, the Vice President of ACP-DYSS, executive members, country representatives, partners, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am Jacinta Limba, the President of ACP-DYSS, and the Director of the Department for Education and Research. I am in the UK diaspora, but I'm originally from Kenya. It is my delight this afternoon to welcome you all to the launching of ACP-DYSS. We have come a long way, starting from 2014. Indeed, as the African Anden goes, a journey starts with one step. 6 years back, we have landed this. So I'm glad we started. My compliments for getting us this far goes to the relentless hard work and seamless support and commitment of my executive members, the Vice President in particular, Engineer Chibo, who has continued to keep the wheel rolling. The SG, Mr. Ufomba, Directors Chinwe, Swiri, Hospice, and others I cannot mention at this time because of time. Thank you. The time is right for Africa to develop. The writing has been on the wall for decades, but the voice is louder now than ever before, as we have heard and seen in many wars and screens. Examples are George Floyd, Breonna, and many others of our children who are being murdered as we watch. Many are dying in the deserts of Sahara, trying to make it to Europe. Others are drowning in the Northern Sea, all for better life. Trying to come to Europe, which does not either need them or even want them. The development of robotics in the Western world to perform the jobs many of our sons are endeavoring to come to do in the Western world. We can't wait anymore, for we can't breathe. We must escape Egypt, the land of slavery, its representation of poverty and misery. We must step into the waters of the Red Sea by faith, prayer, and courage. And when we get to the Canaan, the land of heritage, prosperity, and dignity, we must depossess and possess our land, develop it, and cherish. We owe it to our children and children's children. We will succeed with the help of God. Thank you all for gracing this special occasion, and I call you very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I would also like to take this opportunity for you to get to know us and the directors. So I will be calling each director one by one for them to introduce themselves. They will be introducing their name, what country they're from, and their position. So I would like to start off that with Innocent.
Hello, everyone. You're welcome. My name is Innocent Ufomba, and I'm from Nigeria. And I'm serving as the Secretary General and the Director of Environmental Policy and Sustainability. You're all welcome today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Innocent. I would also like to welcome Gladys. Gladys, could you please introduce yourself, your name, country, and department?
Hello, everyone. My name is Gladys Kamau, and I'm from Kenya, and I'm the Director of Social Integration and Welfare. You're all welcome.
Thank you, Gladys. I would also like to welcome Mary. Could you please introduce yourself, name, country, and department? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. You're welcome. My name is Shuri Mary. I'm from Cameroon. I'm the Director for Advocacy and Human Rights.
Thank you, Mary. Chinwe, could you please introduce yourself, name, country, and department? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ikram. My name is Chinwe Obonna. I'm from Nigeria. And I'm heading the Department of Agriculture and Food Technology. You are all welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Chinwe. Hospice, could you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Ikram. I'm Hospice Akondanu. I'm from Benin, and I'm a treasurer and the director of the Department of Entrepreneurial Management and Innovation. Thank you.
Thank you, Hospice. Dr. Jacinta, could you please introduce yourself again?
Yeah, hello, Dr. Jacinta from Kenya, living in the UK. I'm the president of ACP-DYSS, the director for education, research, and community development. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jacinta. Stephen, could you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Stephen. I'm from Nigeria. I'm the vice president of ACP-DYSS and also the director for youth governance and leadership and governance and development.
Thank you. Jonathan, could you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan Aina. In the United Kingdom. I'm from Nigeria. I'm the assistant director for the Department of Information and Technology. I welcome you all to this wonderful event, and we will be working together to achieve a great goal and make Africa great again. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Jonathan. Daniel, could you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Kolade Daniel. I am based in the US from Nigeria. I am the Director for Information Technology for ACP-DYSS. And as Jonathan rightly mentioned, this evolution and innovation would ride on the wheels of technology, and we want to do our best to bring Africa back again. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all. Lastly but not least, my name is Ikram Hamid. I'm also the Director, Engagement Lead, and I'm based in the UK. So now I would also like to have a warm welcome in to introduce our Vice President, Stephen, to give us an introduction on ACP-DYSS.
Thank you, Ikram. Good afternoon, everyone, and distinguished ladies and gents. I'll be talking you through who ACP-DYSS is. On my outline, I have, obviously, you've met the board. I'm going to take you from there, and I'm going to be leaving you with the responsibilities and what has to be done by the country representative. Like you all see, I'm meeting the board. Joey, please, can you go to the next slide? Yeah, thank you. And so we've been able to introduce ourselves, and I know you all by now probably would know these faces. Please, the next slide, please. ACP-DYSS in acronym, which is in full, which is the African, Caribbean, Pacific Diaspora Youth Support Services. We're a not-for-profit organization, which basically are looking at not just the diaspora alone, and also the grassroots. And then we registered under the EU Federation of Social Organization. That's basically, in a nutshell, what ACP-DYSS is. I'm going to be talking you deeper into this presentation. Next slide, please. In ACP-DYSS, we have 10 departments, which we believe are very crucial to the answering of the African, Caribbean, Pacific regions, and not just in the diaspora, like I said, and also in the grassroots. So basically, we have a Department of Agriculture and Food Technology, Education, Research and Development, Youth Leadership, Governance and Development, Environmental Policy and Sustainability, Community and Public Health. ACP-DYSS conferencing, because we believe that it is through consistent engagement with ourselves and discussing all these various departments that we're able to answer the questions that we need, that would definitely spin us into the prospects we are looking at. Also, we have entrepreneurial management and innovation, social integration and welfare, advocacy and human rights, media and content, and information and technology. Next slide, please, Chiwi. So the vision of ACP-DYSS and the mission is very, very robust and clear. Our vision is to be the conduit and the developmental catalyst of the ACP youth, both in the grassroots and the diaspora. So basically, we know that some of us are not in the grassroots, and the grassroots are basically Nigerians or Kenyans living in Kenya, or Nigerians living in Nigeria, and also the diasporans are the Africans or the Caribbean or the Pacifics who are living outside of the shores of their land. So we believe that we want to act as that conduit of making sure that there is an interaction between the people living in the very own land of the grassroots and the people living outside their father's land as well, which are basically the diasporans. And also the vision is to build a diaspora community who will effectively work together with both the ACP grassroots and the diaspora as well to be able to fund what we hope to achieve. Our mission is straight to the point. It's basically to engage the ACP diaspora youth and the grassroots in development of ACP countries. So we definitely, like I said, in our list of departments, we have a department called ACP-DYSS conferencing. And in that way, we can only do that by engaging ourselves. And we engage ourselves through re-education in different subjects, which I've mentioned, and also working together. And in that way is the only way we can be able to showcase a collective self-realization. And that is what our mission is all about. And that will lead us to the Pan-African mindset, which we believe in, which runs our organization. And also it will ensure that we have that collective self-realization, which is the dependency we are looking forward to achieve. On our mission as well is to align ourselves with the developmental policy that is targeted to our region. Because obviously, like I said, our questions and challenges can only be answered by us, and us alone are able to provide solutions which is long lasting. If at all we want our solutions to be sustainable, we have to do it ourselves. The next slide, please. Our goals and values, our goal is one, is to achieve a collective self-realization. And that is something that is very expedient in ACP-DYSS, because everything we do is centered towards not as an individual, but collectively. Individually, Africans cut across the globe has successfully nailed it. If you look around you, even within the shores and outside the shores of Africa, we've been able to, mark, the Guinness Book of Record as individuals, but we've not been able to do it collectively. And that is why we're saying we're not able to achieve a sustainability. And that's the only way, by we having to involve ourselves collectively, we're able to achieve that, that aspect of our self-realization, which is our goal. Our values are very straight. We can't do these things we're saying without having to have a level of optimum in excellence and professionalism, quality and integrity, efficiency and quality as well. And also we can do it as well without having partnership and collaboration. Equality and integrity is an aspect which I find very, very intrigued with. So that aspect brings us in as a result of not saying, like people normally say, we are going to help the people in Africa. No, that's not true. Africa is actually helping the people outside of Africa. So it is in the way we know that we are working together. So that is where we share our equality. So our equality is by working together and having that respect that the people back home has something to offer. And in that way, they're able to get that boost they also require to support the movement you are looking at. Please, the next slide, please. And our objective is, we have 6 objectives, which are very centered on everything we do. And this particular one, like I said, the conduit, we want to be, the first one is that we want to be the conduit of the ACP diaspora youth in Europe, and also for developmental activities in the ACP regions. So we want to be that, sharing that interaction between the people living in Africa or Caribbean or Pacific, and also the people living in our community here in Europe. And we're going to do that by making sure we put the avenue of having the communication aspect between the country representatives and the community as well. The second objective is also something that is very, very top on our list, which is actually to promote Pan-Africanism, which is a way we believe ourselves should operate. Because in the Pan-African agenda, we see that it is Africa for Africa by Africa. So the region, the Pan-African, the region, the ACP region, the African Caribbean Pacific region, it is for them by themselves, for themselves. It is only when they are able to engage themselves by themselves, that is the only way we can get out of this whole aspect of derogatory, which sometimes we see in very aspects. I wouldn't go in there. And the third one is actually working together with the ACP, Diaspora, Youth, and Grassroots. So currently now, we've been having what we call the country representatives. So we have country representatives all over the world, ranging from African, Caribbean, and Pacific as well, and also outside of these regions as well, making sure we build that particular working together capacity to respond to developmental challenges as we see arising rising more and more and more today. And we cannot reach a sustainable goal if we are not able to create that interconnection of engagement among ourselves. So the fourth one is to keep ACP-DYSS diaspora youth informed about the ACP region developmental policy. So when we engage every of our country representatives, I'm going to explain that to you as I move into my presentation, how we engage and inform ourselves as the case may be. And the fifth and the sixth one, I'm just going to go through them. The fifth one is to facilitate the design and implementation of joint development intervention with the ACP grassroots youth organization. So we believe by having our country representatives who are in the grassroots, for example, I'm from Nigeria. If there are going to be projects taking place in Nigeria, we have country representatives all over in Nigeria among the 36 states who are ready and willing to go on every project we've been designed to implement, or even here in our diaspora in the UK, where I stay as well, we have country representatives in the UK who are also, on the ground, ready to crack on whenever we have a project to, go with. And the sixth one I'm going to explain more to is basically around the policy and the operational strategy, which I will explain more when I get to that presentation. Please, the next slide. So there is an approach we've accepted in ACP-DYSS, which is something we are very, we are very passionate about, and we are very, excited about it. And that aspect is the 3 pillars, which is re-education, because we cannot achieve much if we don't re-educate ourselves, because there's something I know that other people knows, even among our society, that we don't have the same balance of equal with. And in that way, if we're able to re-educate ourselves and move down to the aspect of also working together, because when we re-educate ourselves, we're able to know more. And that way we can be able to achieve a collective self-realization. Next slide, please. So basically, I've talked about the aspect of the operational strategy of ACP-DYSS. The operational strategy of ACP-DYSS basically is our lens in which we use to scan every project we engage in. So it is difficult for us to meet up with all aspects of our project if we don't have a strategy, a memorandum of our operandi in which we operate. And that is something I'm going to be explaining to you here now. So in the first pillar, we have re-education. And in re-education, we have 3 elements that helps us to make sure we've been able to attain that aspect of re-education. So I'm going to take, for example, if we're going to be re-educating ourselves on what agriculture is today in our different community. Let's take, for example, I'm going to be having a project in Nigeria, and I'm going to be engaging the country representative I've told you about in agriculture project. So first of all, we need to understand what locality are we going to be going into. What are the shortcomings in that particular locality? Do we need to take contact with the government and so on and so forth? So we need to be able to have all this information, and that is what you see in the first bullet. So the regional youth are providing national developmental policy framework to support the ACP diaspora. So we are coming, meeting the Nigerian youth in Nigeria. They are giving us ground information, recent information, giving us even local information and also community information to be able to crack on with that project. On the second element, on the first pillar, is to jointly discuss, on the local developmental policy guideline to understand the pressing issue in that region. So we are discussing agriculture. We are trying to find out what are the problems. Is it the problems of harvesting? We've seen what the aspect of storage has done to our people in East Africa when there's low cost and everything. Is it the problem of harvesting and storage that is the problem? So this is something we are going to obviously determine to know which particular problem in agriculture we are talking about. And then in that way, we will jointly agree on that particular occasion of the problem. So because in that way, we are able to say, yes, we are going to be tackling the aspect of, for example, harvest, or the problem of storage, or even the problem of diversification of food, because we just have a one stream food. So it all depends on what the problem is. But that is where we jointly agree to identify the problem we want to, or the gaps we want to close up in that particular first column. So that pillar gives us that. In the second pillar, we're looking at working together. And in the first element in the second pillar, we're looking at carrying out research to identify and the project plan as well. So in that particular place, we are looking at what are the areas we should now, in that we say, for example, we've gotten to know that we are going involved in our storage, of our harvest, or we are looking at diversification. So what aspect of storage are we looking at? Are we going to take contact with universities and so on and so forth? What are the partners we are going to be looking into? So that aspect of research will help us to know that. And obviously, in our second element, we're looking at strengthening the partnership of the parties which are going to be involved in this particular project. So in that case of agriculture, we are going to be asking ourselves, are we looking at small and medium scale farmers? Are we looking at bigger suppliers of what we are going to be harvesting or planting? Or are we looking at taking contact with bigger aspect of storage mechanism, or we're looking at a medium or a small aspect of storage, depending on how or what that all is about? We're able to answer that on our second element. We'll also be able to engage partners like transporting the goods, not just people who are storing alone. We're looking at transporting the goods, or we're looking at, let's say, the market as well, in case the market has been a problem why we can't keep our storage for a long time. We'll be able to answer that as well. So that will be dependent on each project, what project it is all about, what problem we are discussing about. That particular element will be answering that particular issue with respect to the problem. Then when we do that, we jointly implement and monitor the project at the grassroots. So because in that level, this project can be at the grassroots. The project can also be in the diaspora. I'm going to be talking you through a project we have here in the diaspora with the African Caribbean Cup of Nations. We are looking at hosting in the diaspora. So this could be for any project. Then by so doing, if we have jointly monitor and get this particular project up and running in that particular locality, then we are able to account successfully that we've been able to find a solution that works best in that particular column. That is the last element. Then in the third pillar is where we now showcase that we've been able to attain a collective self-realization. And how do we do that? We do that by jointly evaluating the project consistently with the partners we have. And in this partner, in this case, is the locality, the people who are engaged in our country representative, and also the partners who have also invested in that particular project, and also the community as well. So by this continuous assessment, by looking at what we've done, what has been the target achieved, and so on and so forth, we're able to push down on that aspect of evaluation to see if we are actually attaining that point for which we want to attain. And in the third pillar, the second element is looking at jointly attaining sustainable solution. How do we jointly attain sustainable solution? We can do that if we were responsible for discussing the problem, if we're responsible for tackling the issues of the problem, and if we're responsible for providing solution to the problem. And that is something we see in our different countries. We get a project, we hire people from other parts of the world to come and run this project for us. And when they finish this project, that's not the problem. The problem starts coming up when we have issues of maintenance or issues of continuation of running the project. So that aspect of sustainability, that is when the problem comes. And if we've been able to answer all these questions to this point, we are able to find any of the root cause to see where the problem has slight shortfall, and then we are able to obviously attend to that particular problem to keep our project running. And in the third pillar is which we the third pillar, the third element is something which we are actually very passionate about. That is something of advocacy for the integration and prosperity of the host ACP region. So everything we are doing, take for example, if we have gone into agricultural projects, basically this is not to have the agricultural project alone and provide the produce or the storage we want to attain. Also, what are we doing with the profit we've been making from this particular project? What are we doing with it? And that is where we begin to answer, are there schools? Are there, let's say, for example, are there libraries in that community? Is there a problem of water? Because some people travel miles and miles to go and fetch water just to have a drinking water. And these are little things that makes life easy for our people. And we're able to answer that question by using that particular revenue to be able to invest in some other things, which is not basically the aspect of agriculture we've started with, which is the project. And it is only where we are able to recycle the profit we get from each and every one of our projects into answering some challenging questions and some challenging projects which our communities are facing. That is the only time we are able to say we've been able to achieve a collective self-realization. And that is the last point there. Can you please go to the next slide, please? And our partnership on this case, that is our event with different occasions. That is the ambassador of Nigeria to Belgium, Dr. Nonyi. That was in 2017, I guess. We had an event, and we had to brief her on the event of what has been happening in diaspora and so on and so forth. So basically on this particular slide is we having to recognize, like we have here also in our midst, the ambassadors are present. We've recognized that we are not saying we can do it all on our own. We are also taking contact with our community organization, with our institute, our parastatals, and also the different NGOs who are also looking at achieving this particular aspect of mindset, as the case may be. And that is something we are very proud of. Please, if you go to the next slide, please. So our achievement, like I said, has been something we are very proud of. And we've been able to organize international student conference all the while. And in 2014 to 2019, we've been able to organize this event, and this event has led us that path of success we now share today. And in 2020, also we've started engaging on the recruitment of country representatives. And that is something we are very proud of, because we cannot do this on our own without having to engage every effort we can. And the effort has to come from the people. And we have people all over the world from our regions who are very delighted to work with us. And the ACP-DYSS as well, like we have today, looking at the live event on the 28th, having it, everything that we are doing today, having it live on the 28th as well. And like I told you, in our diaspora here in Europe, in July 2022, we are looking at hosting the African Cup of Nations, where we involve every countries in this particular region. We're also going to be involving youth in the grassroots, like Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, South Africa, Kenya, from all over the region, both Dominican Republic, Jamaica, and so on and so forth. Within all the three regions we've mentioned, we're going to be involving them in this particular tournament as well. Please, the next slide. And like I said, we have our country representatives all over the world. This is our country representatives. I'm not just going to call name, but we have them all over the world. And they're how will I say it? These are the people we have on ground to be able to respond, whether it is in Cameroon, whether it's in Sierra Leone, whether it's in Nigeria. These are people we have on ground ready to respond on every of our projects, as the case may be. Next slide, please. So moving on to the next slides are going to be the country representative. This is just showing off our country representative, because we're very proud of them. And then they've been, they've been there, and also they are ready to hit the ground running when the time comes. Please, the next slide, please. So same thing, we have country representatives, both from Benin, both from Kenya, both from Zambia, as the case may be. We have them here, and also we can, this is just to mention but a few of our country representatives. Next slide, please. Okay, and yeah, so like I said, these are all our country representatives. I just hope the next slide will not be, because I think we can keep going and on and on and on. But okay, next slide, please. So the responsibilities we share with our country representatives are very, they are something that we find very, very serious, and also we find it very, very interesting. It's basically our country representatives are able to recruit other youths, because we absolutely have in mind that the only way we can be able to do this is by getting our youth engaged and also re-educating ourselves on the things we want to talk about. And that's the only way. We can't do it any other way. And also making sure that the country representatives are able to build the ACP youth in their countries. So we want to be able to largen the cost. For Nigeria, we are looking at, for example, 7,000 country representatives. You might be asking me for what? The question is basically to respond to the whole 9-10 departments we've been able to usher out. And we want to do that in every fabric of the sectors we are talking about. Let it be agriculture, entrepreneurship, and so on and so forth. Obviously, because of the population of Nigeria, we would need such amount of people so that they can be able to get into the rural areas and get things on. And also, yeah, we also have the organizing of and coordinating of and overseeing of ACP-DYSS during events. So they will be responsible for making sure that events which are organized in their particular countries are being responded to. Just to, for time's sake, the last one is talking about engaging the ACP and in sensitization and campaign. So one of the things that have actually affected us more than ever is the ability to have the same mindset of an information. So what I know today that has to do with, for example, entrepreneurship as a Nigerian might also be obviously different from somebody who is even a Nigerian or who is even a friend from what he knows about entrepreneurship and innovation. So it's only by the time we educate ourselves in these things, we are able to know exactly what is what. And that is the way about sensitization, campaigning towards community development, building capacity and youth leadership and governance. And this can be in any event. It can be in our governance where we know that obviously we have fallen short of. Our governance has underpinned the issues, what is happening. So we need to, how do we do that? By re-educating ourselves, by getting things up and running as well. And in that way, we're able to have most of the questions answered. The next slide. So I think that's all for my presentation, and I'm going to hand over to you, Ikram. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for that insightful presentation and introduction to ACP-DYSS. Now, I would also like to hand over to the directors to present on their department that they are directors of. We'll be having 7 presentation by 7 directors, and I'll be introducing each directors one by one. Firstly, I would like to introduce Innocent, the Director of Environmental Policy and Sustainability. Just before I invite Innocent, could you all please make sure that our microphones are on mute, please? Thank you. Innocent?
Okay, thank you, Ikram, and thank you, VP, Stephen, for the introduction. So I want to welcome all our distinguished guests and everyone here today. My name is Innocent Ufumba, and I am the Secretary and also the Director of Environmental Policy and Sustainability Department. So today I welcome every one of us. Next slide, please. So for the Department of Environmental Policy and Sustainability, I'm just going to take us through the outline of my presentation at this moment. So I will go through the introduction, and we'll look at the objective of the department, and we'll be looking also at some of the environmental policy and sustainability problems that are in ACP countries. And we will, of course, look at the solution through a case study and using the pillars of oppression which ACP-DYSS uses. Next slide, please. So basically, just to give us a background of what we look at in the Environmental Policy and Sustainability Department, of course, we look at the laws that obviously will guide both the companies, both individuals, but also legislations and regulations that will be giving everyone a guideline on how to take the environment and how to react to it. And by when we talk about the sustainability, we're looking at being able to use the present day natural resources that we have without actually jeopardizing the future of the generation to come to use theirs. And that's why the Environmental Policy and Sustainability Department, at just like any other important time in our lives, in our generation, is super important in the day of today. Next slide, please. So the objectives of the Environmental Policy and Sustainability Department is that we actually have some key areas that we look at. We want to empower, and we want to be able to sensitize. We also want to be able to hold accountable, and of course to promote good practices when we see them. So the Environmental Policy and Sustainability Department is looking at being able to equip leaders into being, of course, strategists of our generation. And so we sensitize the youth in the ACP countries of the environmental issues that are affecting the region. And we also try to demand the strengthening and implementation of indigenous environmental policies and strategies that we believe will help us achieve solutions, because we see that some of the laws or environmental laws that most of the ACP countries tend to use could be laws that's been handed over to them by the colonial masters. And what we try to do the day of today is to be able to start up laws, make laws, enact laws that are actually what affects us in the day of today practically, without mirroring someone else's model. And we also look towards promoting and encourage youth involvement in this race. Next slide, please. So basically, if there are quite a whole lot of sustainability problems that we have in ACP countries, but for the want of time, I'm just going to take you through just a quick sporadic mentioning of some of them. We have environmental degradation today. Of course, it's no longer a secret, the impact of climate change, drought in some of our African Caribbean countries as well. And we have waste management problems, which is part of what you will be hearing during the case study representation. And also due to a lot of the population increase that we have around, we have a lot of, for example, in Nigeria, where I'm from Nigeria, you have a lot of people using generators. Of course, this all increases the rate of NOx in the atmosphere and also affects us adversely. But also we'll also be looking at the problems that we have with things like natural disasters and response to disaster management. And these are aspects we really are looking and working together with our associates. So we also look into issues about strategy, which we think is actually the problem we have is the aspect of governance as well, being able to enact and have adequate access to environmental information, being able to design and implement indigenously this found strategy, and above all, being able to have regulatory agencies that are actually informed of the problems with leadership, proper leadership based on wisdom and not based on mere politics. Next slide, please.
So
if we look at the solution that can actually help us in all these myriads of problems that we have, ACP-DYSS has been able to devise this model which we believe strongly will give us the solution that we want. And that is what, like the Vice President Stephen Chibo has just mentioned not long ago. We believe in re-education. We believe in working together in partnership, and which we believe will help us have that collective self-realization. And I'm just going to take us through, please, next slide, please. So I'm just going to take us through a case study. Then I'm going to describe just these three pathways of our operational strategy. So today, the problem that we will be discussing it's something about industrial waste management policy implementation, and we'll be using the ACP-DYSS operational strategy. And this is for Nigeria, because I'm from Nigeria, from other states. from the eastern part of Nigeria. And just to look at the problem identified, like I said earlier, is how can we be able to implement industrial waste management policy? And we see that, for example, in re-education, what we are looking at is the model of re-education is being able to bring in the diaspora and youth, and also the youth in the grassroots for this sensitization, where we can be able to sensitize the need to implement, to enact industrial waste management policy, but also to implement it. And for re-education, we'll be able to look at the logistic that will help us in achieving this. Of course, we'll be able to look at the sectors that have high waste pollution rate, and we'll also look at what exactly is being done at the moment and how can we be able to facilitate the these proposed solutions that we have. And if we look at the aspect of working together to find a solution for this problem, we're actually looking at going into more research of this problem. And by that, we actually want to work with educational institutions. We will be able to hold webinars and trainings. And we also want to involve the youth in discussion of policies. And of course, we want to work with media houses. For example, the BCA in Abia State, or every other local radio and TV media to be able, to have background information of what we are talking about and feel the pain that we want to pass across. So when we look at this partnership, we'll be able to bring both the youths and the media house, the SMEs. We'll look at also stakeholders and policymakers, having to, if it requires us, going to the Senate to present our case, not violently, but also with facts and logic. And when we look at this, what we are looking at is that the outcome of working together will be that we will find best applicable solutions that will help us to be able to have environmental management systems that will help in compliance, and that will actually guide the companies. For example, the manufacturing companies who in Abia State, who they produce whatever they produce, and we see the waste being dropped in, into the river, and we see a lot of solid waste everywhere. And so what we are looking at is how can we, when we've worked together, we look at the third part of our model, which is collective self-realization. Look at what we want to achieve in collective self-realization is we'll be able to evaluate our performance. Have we been able to, is there a gap? Are there opportunities for improvement? What have we actually, what have we actually achieved by this sensitization to both the government, to the individuals, and also the manufacturing industries? Can you take me back to that slide of the case study, please? Thank you. So when we look at that, we also want to be able to hold our leaders accountable, that even during the electioneering process, we want to be able to question them. What will be your actions? What do you hope to improve in the aspect of waste management in our individual local government areas? And what we want to achieve here is that we want the government, and we want to hold people responsible. We want actually that most licenses be revoked from defaulters who are actually polluting everywhere. And another aspect basically that is really very important for ACP-DYSS in our model is the aspect of advocacy. So by that, we actually look at how can we have continuity in these actions that we've started, that we've brought forward about implementing the waste management policy. So we want to see laws enact on polluter pay principle. We want to see licenses being revoked. We want to see the media house talking about sensitizing individuals, both individually as a group, as a local government, as a state, and the nations. We want to be able to see that everyone is actually aware, having to be aware of the need for us to be careful in what we produce in our different industries, and the need to hold them accountable even in other aspects of corporate social responsibility. So advocacy is really key for us, because we want to continue, and not just a one-off sensitization and not just politicizing, but we want continuity. of our efforts. And when we do this, basically, this is where the joy comes in, and this is where most of us are very keen on helping out, is because we want to have that pride that we've actually attained this self-realization, collective self-realization without foreign aid and without begging for handouts. We can do this ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Innocent. That was really insightful. The three main things I took that from in terms of sustainability is a goal, but to re-educate, work together, and collective self-realization. Thank you very much. I would like to now welcome our Director of Social Integration and Welfare, Gladys Hill. Please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gladys Kamau, and I'm the Director of Social Integration and Welfare Department. Welcome to my presentation. The outline of my presentation will be introduction. We'll have the objectives, problems of African integration and welfare in Kenya, solutions, and then finally we'll have a case study illustration. The aim of my department is to redefine the African image and culture and welfare. I aim to look at deeply rooted societal problems and aim to restore our African community, identity, and social dignity using Pan-African media. A quote by Frantz Fanon: "A Black person's phenomenological experience and creation of identity subject to inferiority complex. First stage is economical and material inferiority, which is the result of exploitation." Simply put, the image that we have today is as a result of exploitation. Next. The objectives of
Gladys, you're on mute.
Sorry, let's go back to the start, please. Please go back to the first. Or did you hear the first one?
Yes, we heard the quote. We heard this quote.
Okay, go back, go to the next one then.
Yeah, we heard it. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. The objective is to promote cultural relativism in ACP countries, which simply means we will look at our doctrines, our morality, our historical context, and our deeply held beliefs. Also, we will aim to collaborate with ACP diaspora youths, grassroots, and civil society. We also aim to network and connect with all civil society organizations and act as a conduit between ACP countries. Next, please. Problem of African integration and welfare in Kenya. We have many rising cases of mental health issues and rising cases of men and youth suicide, lack of hope, educated young people with no jobs, lots of broken families, and generational trauma. We all know that if these issues are not sorted out in one generation, they tend to go on to the next generation. There's this series by the BBC, Suicide Stories, Are Men, Kenyan Men in Crisis. It's a good one to watch, and it highlights the issues stated. I would like to add that BBC should really not be telling our stories. We should be telling our own stories, and we should not shy away from topics that are deemed to be taboo. Next slide, please. Within the ACP framework of re-education, working together, and collective realization is how we're going to find our solutions and sort out the problems that we have. Here is a bird, it's a Sankofa bird. In the Akan culture of Western Africa, there is a symbol of Sankofa, a bird reaching back to retrieve the past to use in the way forward. So this is what we aim to do. And a quote by Rihanna Ofsen, Decolonization of the African Mind. A colonized mentality is marked by a sense of inferiority and desire to be more like the colonizer. So simply put, the mentality that we have today is derived from our need to be like the colonizer. So that is what we need to address and raise up our new African mentality. Next slide, please. So case study of decolonization of the African mind using the ACP operational strategy. So we will use the ACP operational strategy, which is the re-education, working together, and finally achieving the self-realization. So in the pillar of re-education, we will liaise with the country representatives, exchange ideas with them on the best way to approach this topic, because we know that this topic has been avoided in our syllabus, and not many people have facts about colonization and what happened. So next, we will have these discussions with the country representatives on the current situation of the mind of the target group. So we have to bear in mind what is the situation on ground. Is it election time? And if not, then we will need to find the best approach. And then we'll have the problem identification. Is there a need to decolonize the African mind? So we'll be asking ourselves such questions. Is there any need to decolonize the African mind? We'll also look at the media and the role it has played in continuous colonization of our minds. We'll also look at the indoctrination in our education system, the attack of the African family from importation of Western culture. And also we'll look at our modern lifestyles, what suits us and what doesn't. In terms of working together, we will research and project development and have project development activities. This is where we find the target group. In this case, mothers and youths. The reason why I believe mothers are really the key is because they pass on their beliefs to the next generation. So whatever mentality that the mother has, that's what they'll pass on to their children. So it's very important that mothers have the right mentality, an empowered mentality, and then they're going to pass that on to the next generation. Then we will look at the location, which is the best location to conduct our seminars and host the workshops. The reason why I opt for this method is because we can have several days where we are tackling different issues. So for example, we can have one day where we are introducing the problem to the audience. And then we have the second day where we are educating on how we form beliefs and how we can be conditioned by our environment. The next day, we can then have tips on how to reprogram our minds and also change our mindsets. We can also have goal setting activities and have vision boards. Next, we will aim to partner with organizations such as Fatuma's Voice. It's an organization in Kenya which re-educate and use music and art to give a platform for young people to express themselves. Then we have implementation and monitoring of the seminar and workshops. And then finally on that pillar, we'll have finding solution which works best. This could be Pan-African media, using of Pan-African media, using cultural events, holding cultural events, having museum visits, visiting places of historical significance, use of technology, virtual events, having books clubs, and then having Zoom or even offline events. It's very important to have all this because this is how we unlearn what we probably have learned that does not suit us as Africans. And we also get the facts on history and not what we have been told. The next pillar, we have collective self-realization, which is where we evaluate the events, the processes and results. And then we have the attainment of sustainable solutions. This is where we look at the annual reviews of the feedbacks, the questionnaires from the events. And then we have advocate for integration and prosperity in the ACP regions. This is where we realize ourselves. And finally, attainment of collective realization. Then that means then we've successfully achieved all this by ourselves without foreign assistance, hence being proud of who we are, fostering African pride, change of mindset, new image, and then hopefully having that African intellectual revolution, which is overdue and need to happen as soon as possible. So next slide. A quote by Frantz Fanon: "Imperialism leaves behind germs of rot, which we must clinically detect and remove from our land, but from our minds as well." So thank you.
Thank you very much, Gladys. Honestly, that was a really insightful presentation. Now I would like to introduce the Director of Advocacy and Human Rights, Mary. Please.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Shuri Mary. I come from Cameroon. I'll be giving a presentation on the Department of Advocacy and Human Rights. Here is the outline of my presentation. I'll be talking about the introduction of the department, the objectives, challenges of advocacy and human rights in ACP countries, solutions, and I'll end with a case study. Many people are talking about advocacy and human rights. What is advocacy? Advocacy is an organized attempt to influence specific outcomes.
Mary, you're mute.
Advocacy is an organized attempt to influence specific outcomes. These outcomes can be politically, economically, or socially, whereas human rights are the basic rights and freedom of everyone living in a society from birth till death. Why is advocacy important? Advocacy is important because it seeks to ensure that the voice of the less privileged in society are heard on matters concerning them. Advocacy protects the people. Advocacy makes sure that the aspirations, the desires of people, especially the less privileged people, their opinion is heard when decisions are being made in the government. There are many objectives of advocacy and human rights, but I will base my presentation on these few on the slide. Does advocacy promote human rights through re-education and working together with youth and organizations in ACP countries? Also, we make sure that the voice of the most vulnerable people in society are heard on matters concerning them. We also promote citizens' participation in governance. When we talk about citizens' participation, it means citizens have to participate in decisions making in government. When that is done, then we call it good governance. Next, please. Poverty, hopelessness, disunity among youths, inadequate sensitization on the importance of voting and the right to vote, nonchalant attitude towards community development and public assets are mostly challenges of advocacy and human rights in ACP countries. This, I'll be using these 3 pillars, which are re-education, working together in order to achieve collective self-realization to tackle the challenges that I listed above. I'll use ACP-DYSS operational strategy to solve one of the challenges or problems that I earlier mentioned above. And the problem is sensitization on the importance of voting. And my case study is Cameroon. So the 3 pillars are re-education, working together in order to achieve collective self-realization. Under re-education, the grassroots will educate the diaspora youth about the situation on the ground. For example, who are those going in for the election? Is there anyone among these people that has the country's interest at heart? If so, jointly, the country representative and the diaspora youth will discuss the strategies to use in reaching the villages. I have decided to use a case study in Cameroon, and we will start with one of the regions, Yaoundé. We have about 20 villages in Yaoundé, and we are 20 country representatives. So this will be divided into 4, and the 4 will tackle 4, and they will tackle 4 villages. So jointly, we will identify the problem. So our problem is inadequate sensitization on the importance of voting. Why is it so? Why is that there's a problem? Why is that people don't want to vote? People have given up on voting. Like people complain that there's a lot of fraud. But I want to use this media to inform you that voting is necessary. It's a basic human right. We need to vote, because if you don't vote, then we are not planning on a brighter future. So now that we've discovered our problem, we have to work together. So we will jointly carry out our research to identify the plans and methods to be used to sensitize people on the importance of voting. What are the methods that we are going to use? We are going to use door-to-door sensitization. We are going to use country hall meeting to bring youth together and parents to talk to them about the importance of
Mary on mute.
Yeah, we are going to use door-to-door to talk to sensitize people about the importance of voting. We are going to use a town hall to bring people together to talk to them about the importance of voting. We are going to use social media. Also, we also visit women, because women are very important in our society. So we'll visit women's meetings to talk to them about the importance of voting. Jointly, we will collaborate with like-minded organizations, such as the Human Rights IS organization in Cameroon, to carry out the task at hand. This collaboration can be financially, manpower, or morally. Jointly, we will find solutions that work best for the development of the country, which are sensitization, enlightenment on the importance of voting. Now we have worked together. We have sensitized the community on the importance of voting, and they have voted. Now we move to the 3rd pillar, which is collective self-realization. We will jointly evaluate our project to identify the loopholes and our successes. How many people voted? Are there many voters than last election? If so, then we have done very well. If not, we will look back to see where we went wrong. What did we do that was not okay? Remember, we have targeted 4 villages in Yaoundé, and those people have voted. And they have voted more than ever before. So we have attained sustainable solutions in those villages. So what do we do now? We move to advocacy. Here, the country representative will continue doing the sensitization, because that village, that region that we targeted, there were 20 villages in Yaoundé. We've done just 4, so 16 are left. So the country representative will continue to sensitize the remaining villages. And Cameroon is made up of 10 regions. So we are targeting 9, and we are targeting 1, and 9 are left. So when they are done sensitizing the 1 region that is Yaoundé, they will move to the other 9 villages in preparation for the next election. And when that is done, we have attained collective self-realization. We have carried out our projects by ourselves. Nobody helped us to carry out that project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mary. Now I'd also like to introduce the Director of Agriculture and Food and Technology, Chinwe, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to my presentation. My name is Chinwe Obona. I am heading the Department of Agriculture and Food Technology, ACP-DYSS. So this is the outline of my presentation. I will start with an introduction and conclude with an example of a project showcasing the operational strategy of ACP-DYSS. So the introduction, we all know what agriculture means, because in our countries, we engage a lot in agriculture. Agriculture involves 3 major activities, which are cultivating the soil. Either you grow crops or you raise livestock, as you can see in the pictures. So the importance of agriculture and food technology cannot be overemphasized. The main importance is that agriculture provides food and raw materials for industries, employs over 60% of people living in the ACP countries to ensure food security and the health. And it's also the main source of national income for many ACP countries. And the food technology helps us to preserve, process, package, and distribute our food in a safe and nutritious way. So the objectives of this department are to encourage the ACP youth to participate in farming through the education on the benefits of farming. So we aim to work together with ACP youth to enhance sufficient farming techniques for agribusiness. We also aim to facilitate mechanized method of agriculture in the ACP regions, as you can see in the picture above. So also to facilitate farmers' access to markets. And the last but not the least is to make the best use of our food resources and minimize waste through preservation, as you can see in the picture below. So we have a lot of problems concerning agriculture in the ACP regions, ranging from decline of soil fertility because of lack of nutrients and overuse of the soil. Another one is limited access to fertilizer, manure, and microcredits. The third one, limited access to the markets because of poor rural infrastructures. The fourth one is inadequate information on modern farming methods. We have also poor storage and techniques, poor storage facilities and techniques, and poor government policies and inadequate diversification, and so many other problems of agriculture in ACP countries. So we have 3 major solutions to tackle these problems, which are re-education, working together, and collective self-realization. So I'm going to explain this more in detail in the next slide, using an example of a project. So this is a fish farming project showcasing ACP-DYSS operational strategy. This project we carried out in Nigeria, Abia State, where I'm from. And it will be done jointly by the ACP Youth in Diaspora and ACP Youth in Grassroot. Although this strategy is designed to be carried out independently by the grassroots youth and the diaspora youth. So we have three major activities which we do to carry out our project successfully, which are re-education, working together, and collective self-realization. And these activities are done sequentially and not simultaneously. So the first thing we do in the re-education, the main thing is discussion. We need to discuss with the people from a locality, from my community, Voku Autonomous Community. We need to meet the people on ground. For example, the country representative, they need to tell us the situation of farming in Voku community, what is going on. So we both from the diaspora, we have to have a discussion on the situation on ground to be able to identify a problem. So for example, we identify a problem, farming specialization, which means people produce the same types of crops every year. There is no diversification. So we have identified a problem, farming specialization. So we need to find a solution which will help farmers in that location to diversify. So we move to the second pillar, working together. This is where the major work is done in our project. We start with research and project development activities. Processes, we find out processes of land acquisition. We find out the best location for this fish. Also look for manpower, which people do we need to be able to carry out this project successfully. We need masons, we need plumbers, we need water borehole drillers and expert pond construction engineers, everybody that has to be involved so that this project will be successful. We involve the person. We go ahead to look for partners. For example, sellers of building materials, because if we intend to build a fish pond with cement, with shovel, whatever they use to in a building, we need to partner with them so that we can also get these materials at a cheaper price, because we intend to carry out this project in every corner of Nigeria. So we also look at partnering with poultry farmers, fish farmers, buyers, also very important, transporters, also very important, and even NGOs. We also go ahead to organize a place for preservation, because we are going to producing lots of fish and preservation is very important. We can build or hire cold rooms, refrigerators, and smokers, and very important, we need to ensure that we have steady power supply. So when we have put all these things in order, that is when we can go ahead to implement this fish farming project, which is construction of a functioning fish pond in my community of Voku. So when we have done this construction, we say we have achieved a solution that works best, which is helping farmers in Voku to diversify, going into fish farming. So we move over to the third pillar, which is a collective self-realization. In this pillar, we do majorly evaluation of the project. That is what we do here. We check the lapses, the problems we encountered. We go through every problem, because we need continuity. We don't need to carry out a project that will stop after 3 years. So we need to make sure that this project continues for over and over yearly. So when we make all these corrections, our aim is to attain sustainable solution so that it doesn't stop after 3 years or 5 years. So we have yearly production of fish, sales, and access to this fish to the people that are living in the community. So we go ahead for integration in the host ACP community where we carried out this project. Because we are going to make a lot of benefits from our fish farming project, we have to use this benefit to train young farmers. It could be to build schools, train teachers, drill borehole, pay school fees, support small entrepreneurs. We make sure that this project supports or bring prosperity to this community where we carried out this project. So in the end, we say we have achieved collective self-realization because this thing was done perfectly by us, and it is happening yearly. It's not something that stops on the way. So people also have access to fish at affordable cost. The most important thing is that we did this thing by ourselves without any foreign influence. So we say we have achieved collective self-realization because it is collective because it is for everyone in the community. Everyone benefits. So this is how I am able to showcase the ACP-DYSS operational strategy using an example of a fish farming project. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Chinwe. Now I'd like to introduce our director. Now I'd like to introduce our Director of Entrepreneurial Management and Innovation. But I would like to let you guys know that this presentation will be in French, but you can follow the presentation in English. Thank you.
Bonjour tout le monde. Maybe I don't know if it is possible to make active my camera because I cannot do it by myself.
I'll try to do that from here. Let me see.
Okay, thank you.
I think, yes, you're on now.
Okay, thank you.
Your mic is off.
Hospice, your mic is off.
Ok, thank you. Donc, comme je le disais tout à l'heure, et cette présentation sera en français, juste pour aussi faire participer au débat nos concitoyens qui sont de régions francophones et tout ça. Donc, je suis Hospice à Gondanou et j'ai en charge le département de management d'entrepreneuriat et d'innovation. Next slide, please. Voilà, cette prise de parole sera structurée comme suit. Donc, il y aura une présentation. Je vais aussi vous présenter les objectifs, les problèmes les problèmes que veut résoudre ce département. Et on va aussi parler brièvement des solutions dans une étude de cas que je vais vous présenter suivant et la stratégie opérationnelle à nous donner par ACP-DYSS. Merci. Donc, next slide, please. Voilà. Donc, aujourd'hui, je pense que lorsqu'on parle d'entrepreneuriat, tout le monde sait de quoi il s'agit en général. Et cet entrepreneuriat, nous pouvons le définir comme toute activité qui implique la découverte, l'évaluation, la mobilisation de ressources et même l'exploitation d'opportunités afin de créer de nouveaux biens et services pour des marchés donnés. Et tout ça collaboré par des méthodes d'organisation et qui seront couronnées par l'organisation d'efforts qui auparavant n'existaient pas. Nous avons voulu mettre en place ce département parce que pour nous, l'entrepreneuriat a beaucoup d'importance, surtout au niveau de développement. Nous savons que lorsqu'on parle de développement, de processus de développement, cela implique nécessairement l'innovation. Donc, on doit changer l'état des choses, évoluer aussi. Depuis nos indépendances, il y a aussi ce problème de chômage dans nos pays africains. Et nous sommes convaincus que l'entrepreneuriat pourrait être une solution pour ce problème. À travers l'entrepreneuriat, il y aura aussi de revenus pour nos peuples, ce qui n'est pas moins important. l'entrepreneuriat aussi nous aidera à être autosuffisants en matière de produits manufacturés. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, avec l'état de nos pays africains, si un pays n'est pas prêt à obéir aux ordres des pays riches, ils peuvent bloquer ses produits. Et aujourd'hui, nous savons que les standards macroéconomiques, ça se mesure à travers et des standards déjà définis. Donc, nous aussi, pour être aussi compétitifs, nous avons aussi besoin d'entrer ou d'emprunter aussi ce pas d'entrepreneuriat. L'entrepreneuriat aussi accordera aussi la créativité à notre jeunesse. L'entrepreneuriat, c'est aussi la connaissance de nouvelles méthodes parce qu'en voulant entreprendre, on cherche et lorsqu'on cherche, on trouve. L'entrepreneuriat, ça nous mettra aussi sûrement en contact avec les fournisseurs de nouveaux clients et même avec l'autorité publique. Donc, l'entrepreneuriat, ça nous permet de développer aussi notre réseau. Et ce qui est encore plus important, c'est que l'entrepreneuriat, ça nous permet de développer nos passions. Parce que lorsque tu vas rester là et vouloir te faire employer par quelqu'un, tu vas développer juste la passion de cette personne-là. Donc, voilà, par rapport à tout ça, nous trouvons nécessaire que ce département soit mis au service de notre population. Next slide, please. Donc, les objectifs de notre département seraient d'abord de promouvoir l'entrepreneuriat, d'encourager nos peuples à créer leur propre business et aussi d'assister nos concitoyens dans la réalité de business. Donc, leur apporter le support ou bien la technologie nécessaire pour comprendre ce que c'est que et entreprendre et pour pouvoir ne pas faillir. Et aussi, nous allons aussi essayer de coordonner l'esprit de solidarité entre des gens désireux de faire ce chemin-là avec nous. Et nous allons aussi, à travers notre plateforme, encourager aussi l'innovation, parce que c'est ce dont nos pays aujourd'hui ont besoin. Next slide, please. Donc, nous allons présenter les problèmes qui nous ont poussé vraiment à penser à mettre en place ce département. Donc, dans nos pays, nous constatons d'abord que l'industrialisation est très faible. Nous avons les matières premières, mais nous n'avons pas la technologie pour pouvoir les transformer. Il y a aussi une insuffisance de connaissances sur les méthodes de l'entrepreneuriat. Beaucoup de gens pensent que, bon, ok, j'ai de l'argent, j'ai du capital, alors j'achète quelque chose, puis je me lance dedans. Et puis, quelques mois, quelques années plus tard, c'est la faillite. Donc, voilà, il y a ce problème-là qui existe vraiment pleinement dans nos pays. Il y a aussi une faible stratégie par rapport à l'entrepreneuriat de la part de nos gouvernements. Nos gouvernements ont très peu de politiques sur le développement et la promotion de l'entrepreneuriat. Il y a aussi le fait que nous avons des écoles peut-être de commerce, de management d'entreprise et tout ça, mais nous constatons que ces écoles n'offrent pas l'espace aux étudiants pour pouvoir apprendre de façon pratique et ce qu'ils étudient au cours. Il y a effectivement les stages, mais c'est très peu. C'est très peu. Donc, voilà, il y a aussi ce problème. Et il y a naturellement ce problème-là que moi, je peux nommer le manque de connaissances en matière des règles d'entrepreneuriat. Nous manquons souvent vous savez, l'entrepreneuriat aujourd'hui, c'est un art. Et puis, les règles de cet art sont presque déjà établies. Mais beaucoup de gens de nos populations n'ont pas cette connaissance-là. Donc, voilà, next slide, please. Donc, dans la solution, nous allons essayer d'emprunter la stratégie et opérationnelle de ACP-DYSS pour pouvoir voir un peu comment nous pouvons résoudre l'un de ces problèmes-là. Next slide. Donc, la stratégie opérationnelle que nous avons choisie implique les 3 piliers, comme vous l'avez déjà entendu dans les autres présentations. Il y a la rééducation, comment aussi nous pouvons travailler ensemble et comment, à travers ce que nous avons fait ensemble, nous puissions nous réaliser nous-mêmes. Donc, nous, au premier abord, nous allons mettre en place des plateformes sur les réseaux sociaux, invitant les jeunes à se joindre à nous, à se joindre à la discussion, où nous allons essayer de leur inculquer l'art d'entreprendre. Donc, discuter sur ce que c'est que l'entrepreneuriat et comment entreprendre, quelles sont les règles. Donc, et puis cette plateforme, j'ai choisi de le faire par rapport à une structure du Bénin. Donc, le Bénin, mon pays que je connais très bien. Donc, nous allons aussi sur cette plateforme partager des expériences entre nous. Donc, des gens déjà qui ont de petits business aussi, nous les invitons à vraiment nous joindre massivement, où nous allons échanger nos expériences, des gens qui ont envie d'entreprendre, et aussi, ils n'ont qu'à venir à nous pour que nous puissions tous ensemble chercher des méthodes pour nous réaliser nous-mêmes. Nous avons aussi, comme je le disais tout à l'heure, identifié là où sont nos blocages. Et à cela, nous allons ensemble essayer de travailler à travers les workshops de petites formations. Nous allons aussi, sur notre plateforme, organiser ce que je vais appeler des journées portes ouvertes, où nous pouvons inviter des entreprises qui ont du succès dans le business, qui viendront partager leur expérience avec nous, leur stratégie, leurs méthodes, et tout ça avec nous. Et nous ferons tout ça dans nos pays respectifs, en communion avec ou en collaboration avec une représentation dans ces pays. Donc, après cela, nous allons voir que nous aurons de petites nouvelles entreprises qu'on va essayer encore d'évaluer, de voir un peu là où ils sont. Est-ce que ces entreprises ont la potentialité d'évoluer encore, de grandir? Et si nous découvrions des problèmes, on va essayer de les résoudre. Et une fois que ces petites entreprises sont créées, ou une fois que nous avons de bons projets, nous allons essayer au Bénin de présenter ce projet à l'AMPE, qui est une structure qui encourage l'emploi, qui encourage l'auto-entrepreneuriat, donc, et qui finance aussi les gens qui ont de bons projets. Nous allons aussi essayer de voir un peu comment constituer le dossier pour ces gens, pour présenter ces dossiers aux banques, pour que les projets soient financés. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, tout le monde dit, nous n'avons pas l'argent pour entreprendre. Mais en réalité, pour entreprendre, c'est l'idée qui est importante et qui est la chose la plus importante. Donc, voilà. Et moi, je pense que lorsque nous allons effectivement faire cela, franchement, notre continent sera un continent autosuffisant en matière des produits manufacturés, en matière d'emploi de notre jeunesse et aussi en matière de notre développement personnel et du développement de nos pays. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hospice. I think I understood the part of merci beaucoup. You said thank you. So at least I know one word of French. And I think someone's chat would made me laugh at a comment that they made when they said they should have paid more attention in their French GCSE. I think I should have as well. But thank you so much, Hospice. I would now also like to, so we've got 2 more presentations left. So please thank you for being patient with us. Just to remind you about our agenda, after these 2 presentations, then we have our discussion, questions and answers. So please do gather your thoughts about what you thought about today. So thank you very much. Now I would like to introduce the Director of Education, Research and Development, Dr. Jacinthe Limba. Thank you.
Hello, thank you, Ikram, and welcome again. So I am the director for the Department of Education, Research and Community Development. My name is Jacinta. Next, please. Yeah, so my presentation will cover about the department, the objectives, problems of ACP youth, especially in Kenya, solutions, and I'll give you a case illustration from my country. Thank you. Next, please. So the Department of Education, Research and Community Development is one of the 9 departments of ACP-DYSS. We address issues of disparity in access to key skills, to knowledge, and to community progress or development. Next. So our objectives are to sensitize, advocate, mentor, counsel, train, stop teenage pregnancy in particular, promote availability and access to quality education, promote higher educational attainment of girls, and to improve youth employability skills. So as you may see in this picture, all what we want is to let our girls succeed in education and in progression into good life. Thank you. Next. The problems of ACP-DYSS youth with reference to Kenya concerns illiteracy or ignorance, lack of mentorship, teenage pregnancy, high school dropout of girls, lack of professional skills, poor and inadequate education or schooling infrastructure, forced marriages of schoolgirls or underage girls, and low levels of documented quality research in our academic institutions. As you may see in this picture here, we have a disturbing case here where this girl you see here is being sold by an African man, probably a relative to a white man. So on the left side, you can see a black man holding her hand, and on the other side, the other hand is being held by a white man. This is a transaction going on regarding this minor. Next to her is a teenage mother holding an infant. And below that, we have those children who are studying under the trees in the scorching sun. These are things that we want to change. Next, please. Yeah, so what are the solutions? As we have heard from the previous directors, we need to do re-education of the issues that are affecting our communities, find means and ways of working together to resolve them, and all jointly attain collective self-realization. In our case, we want to see happy girls like you can see on the photos here. Smiling girls, healthy, going to school. We want to see good educational infrastructure, classrooms, books, library, our youth enabled to attain quality education. Next, please. So now I'm just going to give you a case study of how to stop teenage pregnancy in the Kilifi district of Kenya using the operational strategy of ACP-DYSS. We call the re-education, which is the beginning place, and we are going to contact our country representatives, and jointly we shall review youth development policy of the government, identify levels and causes and effects of teenage pregnancy, identify possible ways of preventing these practices, and identify ways of mitigating the impacts. So we're not just going to look at preventing, but we're also going to look at how we can help the girls who have already fallen victims of child abuse, exploitation, and consequential pregnancies and motherhood at very early age. So having done that, we shall work together to find out solutions, so undertake research, discuss, find integrated solutions, because it's just not one solution that is going to work. We need integrated solutions to curb these issues shrouded in child abuse and exploitation. Then we shall identify and develop suitable courses, for example, for training or for counseling, and then identify suitable implementation of or conduct strategies, like how are we going to reach these girls? Are we going to go through the churches or through educational institutions, or shall we use conferences or develop a virtual academy where we can get in touch with these girls as well as their parents and guardians, and also the community, because it's actually a community problem. Then we shall identify key collaborative partners who will help us to do this work, such as NGOs on the ground, even organizations like religious institutions and schools. We shall jointly mobilize resources such as funding, terms of money, human capital, which includes mentors and trainers. And then we shall jointly implement and monitor the processes of stopping teenage pregnancy. Then during the running of the program, we shall do what we call monitoring and evaluation of the implementation processes to identify whether and where we may be running lapses or we are maybe failing in, and then we shall address these issues in the course of the program. Then having done that, we shall have what we call joint evaluation, so that we can achieve collective self-realization. So evaluation is actually in 3 steps. First, we find out effectiveness of our practices. So our trainers adequately trained, our trainers do what they're supposed to do. The methods that we are using to address these issues working. Also, we shall evaluate the participation of teenage girls in these projects and find out if they are not participating, why are they not participating, and what have we done right or wrong, and how can we improve. Eventually, we will have to evaluate the impact, and at the end of the project to identify what have we achieved, how much has teenage pregnancy dropped, and how many people have participated, and then from there we would be able to come up with concrete strategy to say this is what is working, and then this is the impact on society. Is behavior changing? Those in Kenya they are calling them sponsors, but to those who don't know, sponsors are older men who are using young girls, trying to give them money and use them and exploit them sexually and otherwise. So as the behavior changed in the society, there are mothers who are selling their children. We also want to know as their attitudes towards motherhood and responsibility towards these girls changed at the end of the project. And then having done that, we shall attain sustainable solutions, that is ending teenage pregnancy and girl child exploitation. Then we shall use our country reps as ambassadors to sensitize, to continue sensitization and to expand this project to other parts of the country, because it's just not a problem of Kilifi district alone. Having done that, then we shall be happy that we have attained collective self-realization in the area of protecting our girls and promoting their education and self-development. Thank you. Next, please. Yeah, okay, thank you for that. So I'll just close with a word which says it's not how bad, how good you are, but it's how good you want to be. So I encourage you to join together and improve ourselves and improve the livelihood of our girls and their outcomes in life. Thank you.
Honestly, Dr. Jacinta, you literally blow me away. Like that was like a really emotional presentation. So thank you very much. And this is why it's so important to have organizations like this. Lastly but not least, I would like to welcome our Director for Youth and Leadership and Governance and Development, Mr. Stephen Chiba. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ikram. Yeah. So I'm going to be talking you through, I'm Stephen Chiba, I'm going to be talking you through the Department of Youth Leadership and Governance and Development of within ACP-DYSS. Please, the next slide. In my outline, I would take you through the journey of our introduction, objective of my department, the problems ACP-DYSS youth in leadership are facing. We'll be looking at solutions. We're looking at providing and also the case, a case illustration as well. Next slide, please. Youth leadership is in many ways, people translate it in many ways. Some call it politics, some call it, different kind of acronyms or words for it. But basically, it's a theory of youth development where youth get skills and knowledge to lead a civic engagement. And also governance is also oftentimes mistaken as well. People call governance politics, which is not the case. It's a way of learning how to do things and learning leadership by doing it in this case. And the importance are very essential, and we see this missing in our community as the case may be. So it's basically looking at contributing greatly into the positive development of our community, asking questions and also answering them by ourselves, which is very important, and also making sure that we're able to lay the foundation to establish and capable and effective leaders for the next generation. Next slide, please. The objective of my department is very clear. Sitting on the aspect of the organization ACP-DYSS is to make sure I try to create that particular conduit, which is our most objective, between youths within the diaspora and also youth in the grassroots. Many a times when I engage with youth in the diaspora, it is often at times of I was born in the UK, I was born in the US, I was born in Europe, but that's not the case. You came from somewhere. And if that be the case, understanding that your grassroots is a subject to why you're in the diaspora where you are, and having to close that particular part, both by engaging within our diaspora here in the UK, engaging among ourselves, and also in the grassroots, we're able to engage ourselves. So we want to make that conduit very solid. And also in my department, the aspect of Pan-Africanism is a very important element. In that way, we are able to re-educate ourselves who we are, orientate ourselves, more importantly, what we stand for and our ability, and that gives us a self-reliance and self-dependence for what we're trying to achieve within our department. And also we are looking at engaging and working together with the diaspora and the grassroots. And we do these things by making sure we facilitate informations that are very crucial, asking questions, what are the things that are that unite us? Let me put it that way. What are the things that unite us? And if we're able to start with those things, it is very easy for us to get along. And by so doing, we try as much as possible to know each other. And we don't know each other by also, there are times we also have to annoy each other. or we'll continue to do this aspect of knowing each other for us to be able to get to where we are going. Because for every interaction, there's always a freedom of expression and a freedom of having that room to understand that things can also not go so well, but as much as possible, we make that aspect of building our capacity also there. The fourth and the fifth objective are something I want to explain more when I get to the operational strategy. For that reason, I will just move to the next slide. Next slide, please. The problems of ACP-DYSS youth, it's enormous, and this problem is what you can find in any part of the world, in any society, when it is not peculiar to us alone. But the problem is we need to, the thing is we need to recognize it and begin to ask ourselves questions which really matter, because we are not children of a lesser God. So, and that is more reason why we need to understand that we are not shy away from our problems. We have the ability to address these problems and tackle it head on. So basically we have inadequate sensitization, which is one of the key aspects. People are not people are not so well oriented in the aspect of community development. The moment people hear community development, first of all, they think it's a waste of time. Secondly, they think it's politics. Thirdly, they think it doesn't, they don't look at it in a way that is the most fabric aspect of our livelihood, is the ability to get engaged with your community and the ability to inspire youth to get engaged. And that's, for me, that is something that is very interesting. And you see also aspect of the problems is inadequate involvement in this leadership and governance. My colleague of mine talked about voting the other time, and that is something which is actually holding us down. It is pinning us down in our aspect. I was talking to a colleague of mine, the aspect of what does it take? We can't continue to blame our leaders. It is not, obviously we know, but we cannot continue to blame them. In Nigeria, where I come from, there's 200 million people. And if you put the head of state and every of the parastatals together, they're not up to 1 million people. So it means that by 1 million people coming out to stand and vote, we can automatically decide change tomorrow. We can tell change to come tomorrow. And I also tell my colleagues that if you look at within our diaspora, let's go away from our grassroots. If you look within our diaspora here in the UK or in Europe, in the UK, for example, Boris Johnson is not the prime minister, is not my president in Nigeria. And my president is not the person who is the prime minister in the UK. So what is happening to our community? Even the food we eat is not sold by us. There's a problem. There's definitely a problem. And if you look at also the aspect of accessing inadequate informations, communication and information technology as a power, and also empowerment skills and programs. If you look at everything that has to do with finances, going to the bank to borrow, and so on and so forth, our expenditure, there is a recent study that says that money in our community, in other communities, for example, in the Asian community, circulates for 1 month. In the Jewish community and the Caucasian community, circulates for 2 months. But in the African community, circulates for 6 minutes. So it doesn't really matter how much you earn. Even if you earn £10,000 a month, you can't even keep the money for 6 minutes, because the things you buy you're not buying from your community. You're not interacting with your community. And those are the problems we are having. Next slide, please. So basically, the aspect of the solution we have has always been something ACP-DYSS is very proud of. It took us about years of, let's say 5 years, to come across and be able to tailor the strategy to this particular aspect. And that aspect is re-education, working together to achieve a collective self-realization. It is only through collective self-realization we can be able to attain our emancipation and our self-determination. Only through that way. If you look at every aspect of industries in different communities where we find ourselves, whether in Africa, whether in Europe, whether anywhere, whether in Asia, individually we've made the mark. We've been able to do great things individually, but collectively we've done nothing. Let me say collectively, we've not done much as we've done, let me put it that way, as we've been able to do as individuals. And that is something we must begin to change our mindset to be able to harvest the energy we have as a collective people. So next slide, please. On my next slide, I'm going to be using a case study to explain one of the things we're looking at, in the aspect of information sensitization. What aspect can we use to be able to tackle on the issues we find within our diaspora, within our community in our diaspora, and also within our community in our grassroots? Because this is problem I kind of, after much research within myself in studies, I kind of seen that the only thing that is actually, it's actually funny, but the only thing that is stopping or that is covering us from the things we see in our grassroots in diaspora is the infrastructure. So the infrastructure has shielded us away from not having to see the problems we face in our grassroots, in our diaspora. So if you take away the infrastructure in our diaspora, you would see exactly the same thing you find in our grassroots. So that is what brings about this aspect of me using conferencing, engagement of our youth in issues that are so dear to us. And how do we do that? In our re-education, which is our first pillar, basically, we're going to be engaging our country representatives. We hope in the future, if not for COVID-19, we're hoping to launch our first conference in Nigeria. And we're also hoping to have one of our conferences in Addis Ababa and also in South Africa. Also, we're looking at going to Jamaica as well. So we are looking at touching the 3 regions, which we ought to get this ball rolling. And when we do that, we already saw that we need our country representatives. So all over the presentation you've been hearing, some of our presenters are talking about country representatives, how they intend to use them. And when we engage in the process of this whole thing, in our first, we are able to discuss certain issues. That issues might be an issue of education, it might be an issue of entrepreneurship, agriculture, so on and so forth. It doesn't really matter. But on my own case, I'm looking at the aspect of governance. I'm looking at governance. How do we use this particular aspect of element to elevate and sensitize our people in the aspect of governance? And governance, like I said, people often mistake it for politics. And governance is not politics. So in the second pillar, I talk about working together. In working together, we are looking at having 20 country representatives in each state. And what are these country representatives doing in each state? They are busy engaging, discussing with people. I was talking about, if we decide today the problems we have in our different regions, be it Caribbean, be it Pacific, be it Africa, these problems are not spiritual. And when I hear people try to administer spiritual aspects into physical problems, I tell them we cannot get it. Don't get me wrong, I believe in God. I understand what the spiritual can do. But in this case of our problem is a physical problem. And we must approach it physically and by getting involved in what? Our governance system. How many of us are getting out there, during the time of voting? How many of us have our voters card? Because you say this person is not good. What are you doing to, put the person aside without necessarily having to go on the street for riots or get engaged physically with the government? So by voting, we've seen that our voting system works. We've seen this, it works and it works well. And by doing that, we're able to get involved with our partners. These are NGOs. We have partners also present in the presentation now. These are partners we are getting involved with, making sure that at that time of sensitization with this country representative, they're able to also engage with them. And by so doing, we're able to implement all the things we've been able to talk about in the conference. Take, for example, we're going to be talking about how we sensitize our people, how we get them on to understand the importance of voting and so on and so forth. How do we intend to tailor it? We still do it with our country representatives. So that is how. And either by sensitization and reorientation, either by mobilization, we're able to do what? To find a solution or a pattern that works best. And that is the pattern I'm laying out now by having at least 20 country representatives in each state, and which is the country I come from, Nigeria. We have 36 states in Nigeria. And by so doing, we're able to go on to the next pillar, which is a collective self-realization. By in the first element, we're going to be evaluating the youths that have been partaking in these different activities. In my own case, I'm looking at mobilization and sensitization. How are they holding on? Which community are they in? How many people are being, how many people are being engaged? Who are the partners? These are questions we are going to be asking, and what are the costs? Also, what are the extents of delay? Are there any, impact we need to address? Is there an issue of training, or is there an issue of capacity building? This whole thing would help us to see the level we've gotten to during this aspect of evaluation of the conference. And when we do that, obviously, what we're trying to do is to attain that level of sustainability that helps us to look at an aspect which is very crucial in our involvement. And then, obviously, we are going to have the aspect of advocacy for integration. And why, in the aspect of advocacy, we are looking at making sure that all that has been gathered from this different community is being tailored, whether in terms of getting the people involved in programs and schemes that motivate them more. Like people ask, what are we going to get from this aspect of things? So getting things involved that motivate them more to get engaged, getting involved in things like, for example, mentoring, coaching, and so on and so forth for that particular community to get them on and running in that particular program. And when we do all that, we've been able to achieve a collective self-realization, because we're not just doing it alone, we're also engaging the community, and we're asking questions as we move on. So that is all about my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Ikram.
Thank you very much, Vice President. So thank you to all the directors that have presented today. Honestly, it was really insightful, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Now it's the time that we've all been waiting for to engage with our panelists. I would like to welcome all the panelists to come off video. That would be only the panelists, please, to show their faces, come on the video. These will be Dr. Jacinta, President, Stephen Chibo, Innocent, Gladys, Mary, Chinwe, Hospice, Kola, Jonathan, and Her Excellency, Mrs. Harriet Boateng. So if you all could please show your cameras and unmute yourselves as well. If you have any questions, I see some people's hands are already raised. Could you please raise your hand? Or if you would, you can put your question and write it in the chat pane. Ahman, Ola, do you have a question for us today? And could you please state where you're calling from?
Hello. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, my name is Rahman Olabanjo. It's not a question, it's like an observation or recommendation. I don't know if you will take that.
Yes, please. We're all here to share knowledge, so.
All right, so I'm in Nigeria living in South Africa presently, so I'm an educator. So concerning, I've been watching all the presentations. They are very great and nice. So I just want to recommend that if you can do a kind of a media awareness, or maybe on radio, TV, newspaper, and the like, so that the youth in every country will be aware of what is going on there.
Thank you very much, Rahman. Stephen, would you like to comment in terms of future communications on how we might be going forward on this, in terms of Rahman's statement, comment that he's made?
Yes, I think Rahman was talking about our ability to reach on wider, the wider grassroots youth, and also in the diaspora as well. And then we've taken that on board. We'll do that as the case, but we have a reason for this on this occasion now. Yes, we'll do that.
Right. Thank you so much. I've got another hand raised. I think I do apologize if I've mispronounced your name. So Amua Berry.
Yeah, hello.
Hello. Could you please state your name and where you're calling from, and if it's a question you have, please.
Yes, all right. Yeah, my name is Amuberi. I'm calling from Benin. Yeah, I had a question, but because of the quality of the connections, I was disconnected. Sorry.
That's okay.
All right, I really appreciate the presentation of all the interventions, and I would like to say that the presentations all light up all of us, especially through the Vice P presentation. We noticed that there is some difference between the political fields and the government actions. But all I'd like to know how to get this difference if when we know that all political fields are directed by the government's their way of vision. All political fields are directed by the government's visions. So how to get this difference and keep it? This is my question. I'd like you to light up my my shadow.
Stephen, I guess that question's for you.
Yeah, but as I answer the question, I also want to invite the ambassador of Ghana as well to join me in answering this, because I think she would have more insight. And by virtue of yeah, I would probably go first, and I would need her knowledge as well on that. But to answer that question from my own opinion, I would you know, you're talking about the two-phase. You know, when in governance, like I said to you, which is lacking in our community, the aspect where we can bridge this is by a due process. And this due process is by electing and choosing our leaders ourselves. We elect these leaders. We choose them. You know, they didn't choose themselves. You know, and we can, even when we make a mistake and elect the wrong one, we can also take him out by the same way we brought him in. So that's basically an aspect which I find very important, that we don't lose hope in our process of bringing them. I mean, we don't lose hope in selecting them. We don't undermine, let me put it that way, undermine how we select them and how we also choose them and how we also, you know, get them out of office. So we can also use the same way we bring them in to actually take them out. And that's something that has worked. And if we look around the world, this is actually happening now, even in the greatest country, as the case may be. You know, and we got our independence through this way, through making sure we keep our voice and, you know, stand on it, and then definitely that way things would happen. This is my opinion, and that's what I believe in.
Okay, thank you very much. I get it now.
Yeah, please. I would also, I don't know if the ambassador would like to, I would share this question with her. Please, ambassador, go ahead.
Good evening, you all, and thank you for welcoming me to join you in your discussions. I think you have done a very good job, although I couldn't listen to all the presenters, but I'm quite impressed at the quality of your slides and the explanations given. With that said, I don't think I got your question. It's on governance and what? What did the questioner ask?
The questioner was looking at there are two phases in the aspect of leadership, the aspect of the government and the people. How do we bridge the problems of having to, you know, they tackle the problems of if there is not the government accepting as when they are in power already? How do we bridge that gap moving on? Because that is an issue that we struggle with.
Okay, but I liked something you said, that governance is not politics and politics not governance. Although those two are intertwined, rightly said by the presenter, it has to be delinked. Why am I saying this? If you delink politics, which clouds a lot of reasoning, I've always said, when there is sound reasoning, there's logic reasoning, the moment politics wades in, then it gets cloudy. You understand? So when you take governance on its own, with all its pillars, you are able to do things responsibly and clearly. But the moment you try and add and infuse it with politics or political ideologies, then although you need the political ideologies as well to build governance, but you must do it in a responsible manner. And this is where the youth come in. And I think that your contribution to governance where politics is concerned will be very, very vital. I have been a youth advocate growing up before I got into adulthood and where I am. And I'd always been ready to take responsibility for my actions. It means that whatever you are doing as a youth, and I must tell you, you have a lot of power, you have a lot of initiative, you can influence policy, and you must do it, but do it responsibly. Don't allow yourselves to be used in a way that will benefit someone's parochial interests. No, you can influence policy which will help build governance in a very responsible manner. And that is where your advocacy skills must come into play. When you see the Arab Springs, Black Lives Matter, all these, I will for this forum say in a very positive way, these peaceful protests, only the peaceful side. I do not subscribe to the violence and the other wrongdoings. The peaceful side of manifesting your thoughts and your actions. It is, you would see that the majority are the youth who have been able to make their voices heard, their feelings known, and these actions will help to build policies, will help to formulate policies, and then in the process, you are building governance. So the question by the speaker, it is by doing it, influencing governance in a very positive way. That you will be able to influence and build governance. That's what, I don't know if it really, but I think that that's what I would like to add to your presentation. And if I have the floor, Madam Moderator, can I just continue and say a few things? And Ms. Hill, I was very happy that you brought in Sankofa. Sankofa is an Akan word, which means go back and take. So that symbol that she showed is a very powerful Akan symbol that we use in Ghana. Now, Sankofa is powerful because you can only look ahead and go ahead and build the future by taking the positive and the positive things and the things that the good things that were done in the past. Without those building blocks that are behind you, you will not be able to influence the future properly. That's what Sankofa means. You go back and take what is good and build what you should. Then I want to also comment on the director who took us through the advocacy skills. These are the most important things that we need now from the youth. Advocacy. Advocacy means that you can influence certain things, and this is the time. Why am I saying this? Right now we are digitizing. The whole world is going digital. Artificial intelligence is on. Robotics is on. I was growing up, I had to learn to use the typewriter. Then I had to convert those skills onto the keyboard of the computer. I learned Macintosh hardware. That's not what you would learn now. So right now, looking at the educational system in each of your countries, don't you think that we must do something about the curricula so that from the very early stages, you are a child or the youth are aware of digitization, they are aware of artificial intelligence, robotics, so that by the time they get into certain positions, it will not be new to them. It's very important. This is the era. This is the time. And your advocacy skills, ACP-DYSS is a platform that you can use to influence such decisions. I don't know how you are funded, but I'll be very happy if your president, is it Jacinta? Yes. I will be very happy if when things normalize next year, you can take a trip down to Brussels and meet the wider group, the African, Caribbean, Pacific group of ambassadors. You can address they'll give you the opportunity to address the entire plenary so that you bring forcefully on board your issues and those advocacy skills that you possess. I see how you have outlined all the different directors have their areas of, what should I say, educational things that they are doing. It's very, very impressive. And therefore, I think you should find a way to make your views and your voice heard right now here in Brussels. I think I missed a bit on your structure and how you operate. I heard a bit of that. But please do well to push forward your advocacy skills. It's a strength you have. You have a good platform. Unfortunately, I haven't seen anyone from Ghana on the platform, but on your webinar. But hopefully, I'll meet one of your Ghanaian participants soon. But these are a few words I wanted to add.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Hona. We will follow up to that.
Okay.
Thank you so much for them kind words and that sponsorship. I think our next person to ask a question is Colin Collins. Could you please state your name, where you're from, and your question, please? And please also everyone be crucial of time, please. Thank you, so we can get everyone's questions and answered. Sorry for disturbing you, Colin.
Thank you very much, Madam the moderator. I want to start by first and foremost congratulating you guys, the organizers. When I got invitation to this meeting about a week or two ago, my reaction was finally. I had that reaction because it's been years that Stephen and I had been talking about an initiative of this nature, and then finally it came. Now, I do not know if it was a coincidence, but as you are having this, the G20 summit is actually taking place as well. So I do not know if it was a powerful coincidence or if it was designed to be so, but one point I like to underline as part of that coincidence is that one of the themes of the G20 meeting this year is focused around empowering youths. So we are talking of no other than all of you were gathered here. So this is not only germane. I think it's also a very, very powerful thing that you are launching today. One point I simply want to leave with you on the table is in regards to the very beautiful presentations that the board of director members made. I have absolutely nothing to fault on all of them because they were so fantastic. The only point is I like to see some sort of prioritization of the different areas of focus that you have, so that some of us that would want to key into what you want to do will be able to know exactly which one comes first in your priority list, and what the target accomplishment date is, so that it will help us in our planning. Beyond that, I want to wish you success, and I look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Colin. I'd like to hear from any African sisters out there. Obviously, our African men are here, but we'll go to the next person. But please do share your comments, Galaxy A51. Abo Larin, Could you please come off mute and state where you're calling from and if you have a question?
Hello.
Hello.
A very good evening. I remain my humble self, Comrade Ola Abolarin. I'm calling from Abuja, Nigeria.
Welcome.
It's so wonderful to be here. I'm so happy that finally, just as the last speaker said, finally, ACP-DYSS is here. The launching gave me a lot of hope. And now I know vividly that we are on and we are ready to move. We are ready to do more advocacy, just as our ambassador has us to do. Mr. VP, I really appreciate you've been showing us this so long and you have been driving us. You have been our motivator. You've been our mentor. I greatly, wholeheartedly appreciate you for bringing me here, because today I know with this caliber of people, this group, and with little I know now, I'll gain more and I'll be able to develop my political lifestyle. One more thing I would like us to do is just to know that God has this body. So I'm so overwhelmed. I really appreciate. I don't really have questions right now.
All right, thank you. Much appreciated. And please, everyone's suggestions and questions is welcomed. Nana, could you please unmute yourself and please say your full name and where you're calling from?
Good afternoon, or rather good evening, everybody, and thank you very much. My name is Nana Asante, and I'm calling from London. I'm originally from Ghana. I'm still a Ghanaian anyway. I am Madam Ambassador. Ghana is still punching out there. I'm the Secretary of IPAD Coalition UK, and we're set up to look at the decade and how together as Africans we in a sense we look at, and I love the three pillars that ACP-DYSS has used. It's a very powerful framework. I'll put that in the chat. And I hope that ACP-DYSS will consider becoming a member of IPAD Coalition UK. There are only 4 years left on the decade. And for those who don't know, the decade is about people of African descent. It's a UN international decade. And all of us are supposed to look at how we can mobilize to look at recognition, justice, and development. And I'm sure that with your help, because I must say your presentations were impressive, that we can all move together. I like the practical nature of your presentations, that you're thinking about doing things on the ground, and as well as thinking through things and evaluation, etc. So I look forward to a partnership going forward. Thank you very much.
Very good, Nana.
Thank you very much, Nana, and we look forward as well. And I believe Madam President is here, and she's hearing this as well. Well, I believe, yeah, we look forward to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Nana.
I think there's somebody, Nana Haji, and Edith, raising up their hand.
You want me to speak now?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Welcome. Please state your name and where you're calling from, if you don't mind.
Yeah, my name is Nana Haja Salifudegati. I'm calling from Northampton, it's in the UK. I'm from the Salifudegati Foundation. I'm also a Ghanaian, Your Excellency. Nice to hear from you. And it is not only you there, we are here a bit hidden, but we like the work that ACP is doing. I'm also one of the board director of the European Network of People of African Descent, that is PAC, and my colleagues, I think, are also there. And ACP, I think what you've managed to present today is really, really great indeed. I like the aspect of the agriculture, that you've raised, because that is a crucial point, and agriculture is our economy. And what we basically need to look into is how do we work together as civil society organizations, come together and develop ourselves by uniting ourselves together and be strong. We have a lot of food. We have a lot of food that goes to waste, because I'm agriculturist by profession. So I've worked in Ghana, farmers, and we have a lot of post-harvest loss of agriculture produce. So we need to basically work together, as you guys have already put on your presentation. So it would be nice for us all to come together to see how we can make this fruitful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nana. And Stephen or Jacinta, would you like to say any comments to Nana's?
Yeah, I'm just gonna, I don't know. I think Madam President is up to speak. Madam President, please go for it.
It's all right.
Okay. I think, yeah, I said to Nana just rightly said, this is something we're also looking forward to as well, because we know that it is by collectively getting engaged within ourselves can be able to, get this whole thing up and running. And then we are looking forward to that partnership. It is something that is dear to us, and then we are going to make sure we are able to work together like it is in our framework is working together to be able to achieve a collective self-realization. Yeah.
I think our next person to ask a question that's got their hands raised is Tayo Ajay.
Hi there, everyone.
Hi.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly fine.
Yeah, I was just
Where are you calling from today, Tayo?
sorry about that. Good evening. I'm calling from the UK, Worcestershire to be precise, Redditch. Just going straight to the point on
Sorry, 1 second, Tayo. I think someone's got themselves on. Yes, please continue. Sorry.
Yeah. Going to the point on what Jacinta said about children, well, girls being sold as into underage marriage and things like this. I got an information from Sir Richard Branson on his Instagram page on the numbers, which are quite staggering. It says 39,000 girls are sold every day, which are like, it makes it up to a figure of 12 million girls being, well, I would say forced into marriage every year. And it's recounting that with the COVID-19 pandemic, the numbers are bound to rise. Well, that aside, they are talking globally, and I want to refer to Nigeria, which I was born, and I use it as a case study. Even we have so many factors in Nigeria now. We have the SARS movement. I was able to source out the source of it quite fairly recently, which the man himself who came out that he formed SARS not for the reason that it's being used for now, but because of greed, because of political self-aggrandizement from what we see today. And I asked the question in the chat. Then when Mr. Chigbo was making his presentation about how to what the clear differentiation between politics and governances, you know, because over the times, I'm using Nigeria as an island. Over the times, the country has been run by one sort of military regime or the other, one sort of junta, as they call it, as the other. And they come, one comes to overtake, another comes to overtake. And that has led us to the point where we are today, because I always kept asking myself that what does a country that elects a former military dictator, a man who has been part of the metamorphosis of what the military.
Can you go to your the question, the direction of the question?
Yeah, differentiating between, you know, politics and governance, and how it affects, you know, the youth, the life of the youth. I'm bringing in the point Jacinta made about, you know, how were girls, she said sorry. Because I made a point of it now when she was, contacting country reps, you know, as one of the key solutions, re-education, contacting country reps. Who can we say are reliable to be country reps, you know, to protect children? Who can we say are reliable? And what's the difference between governance and politics? How we can infer that, the difference, how it relates to Nigeria as you know, as a country.
I don't know if Madam President, you can maybe say first from your own point of view, and obviously I would answer the difference of the question. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Fipi. So there are two questions there. So the first question I'll answer, the next one, Fipi, you'll answer. So I'll answer the issue of child protection. Now, I don't know for Nigeria, but I know for Kenya, there's a department for youth development and child protection. When I say we shall conduct country reps, is we conduct country reps to know what is the government policy on the ground and to be able to work with the community, which includes the parents, the guardians, and the community in general, to identify the causes of these issues and how we can solve them. Because as you said, it's challenging. So it's not that the country rep is going to protect the girls. No, the country rep is going to work with us and with the community so that we come together with the affected community and find out solutions on how to deal with this. And this will not only include the local people, but it also include the local leaders. May they be politicians, may they be religious leaders like the pastors, the imams in the mosques, and then, you know, just leaders, the ed teachers, and everybody needs to be informed because things are really bad, as you've said. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, it sounds fairly reasonable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Over to you, Phoebe, for who is the politician and who is the governor.
The difference between politics and governance, if I get your question right, I believe, is the difference is in politics, you, like the ambassador said, in politics, you definitely bring in rationales, you know, that gives you that aspect of, will I say, take an example, while it's going into negotiations. What are the deals being negotiated in our countries? You know, you see what is happening in Africa at the moment. There's a lot of deals going under the table, a lot of deals flying over our lands. How are these deals being negotiated? You see people, companies which are coming into our country. Let's take Nigeria, for example. Nigeria, we are over 200 million people. You know, if you look at in the UK for now, a lot of money has been borrowed during this time of COVID-19, but that hasn't changed the amount of the cost of bread in the supermarket. Why? It's because this deal has been negotiated by the investors. So politics play a role in governance when you are dealing with an outsider. So you bring in politics, that's basically a way of negotiation, a way of understanding. But whilst you do this negotiation, what are you negotiating? Are you negotiating, take for example, an infrastructure in my own country, which is MTN, take for example, should give everybody an XYZ. Let's take for example, how much is being paid to our people? How much is being paid in South Africa, people who are mining? How much is being paid in people who are working in the Central Africa and Congo? You know, how much is being paid? You know, you can keep on and asking that question, because when government make this negotiation, they don't make it with, there is a lack in governance in those negotiations. So the negotiations are politically, because that is why it brings diffuse. But you can't find the governance aspect, and governance speaks for the people. You know, that is basically it. I don't know. I would also want to invite thoughts of my fellow directors. I would want to, you know, call in Innocent in this. I don't know, Innocent, do you have anything to share as well, as the case may be, for between governance and politics?
Thank you, VP. Well, basically, I think you've actually captured the framework, basically. So, I mean, from my point of view here, when we look at governance, we're actually looking at doing the job itself. You know, like going into the field and of development, and also putting this infrastructure together with, you know, from a place of development. But when you look at the aspect of politics, you're actually looking, like you said, the aspect of consideration, and that could come probably because of parties trying to actually, you know, dictate who will be at the helm of affairs, who will actually be the one to bring the development. And oftentimes we see that it's as if we measure in minor by looking at who's going to be in charge, and the job is actually undone. And that's why this platform, we are looking at how the youth can actually get involved, but also look at how to get the job itself done, go to the field there. And instead of just trying to be the head figure and answer the names alone, or try to see who's in charge, what party is leading, what party is better. You know, we're looking at going out there and getting these developmental jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, Innocent. I think we've got a hand raised from It's Me, Rista. Do you have a question? Can you please state your name and where you're calling from, please? If you would, could you unmute yourself, please?
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, sorry. So my name is Resta Ratemo. I am the ACP-DYSS country representative Kenya. I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to make a few comments. I have a background in economics, and I'm a musician. I write songs and music. And so just to add on what there's a brother that called from South Africa called Kumo, about the media, involving media, and also bridging the gap of knowledge I have been in America for the last 4 years. And after watching and observing what made America great, I just noticed that it is part of us, part of our ancestors. And Africa, for the longest time possible, has been the source of raw materials for the rest of the world. And we still have the raw materials. It's not too late for us. So when I shared with some friends, family, about my relocation plan, everybody was like, how can you leave America? You know, Africa is a dying continent and all that stuff. So for us to be able to change that narrative, and which is of course not true, that Africa is a dying continent. There's a lot of resources, there's a lot of talented people back there. There's a lot that we can do. So this meeting is like a history being made in this century. And I'm like so excited. I've been praying, actually, even fasting for a united kingdom of Africa. And for me, this is a dream come true. And I'm so humbled to meet all of you guys. And yeah, I believe that together we can actually make this work, and it can be achieved.
Ambassador, thank you so much, Mr. That was so inspirational and powerful, honestly. Ambassador, I have a question for you, if that's okay. I think it could be just maybe a comment in terms of for everyone, but I thought just to end this off, it could be a question or what your view is. I think as a diaspora or someone that was born and raised in the United Kingdom, of saying that I'm born and raised here, so I'm British and I don't have no alliances with Africa, suggestions, or, you know, I haven't been brought up with certain cultures, but you had to learn. In terms of leaving that mindset, I think one of the directors was saying today in terms of asking for help and aid from other individuals, from yourself. In terms of the youth, how do you think that one can push ourselves forward to actually understand how to move forward, if that makes sense? What, in terms of what steps to go forward, to believe in Africa again? I think Stephen was mentioned in terms of Pan-Africanism, like in terms of the actual believing in yourself to, you know, you are an African and you are in Britain, but you've got the option to live in Britain. But how does one actually start re-educating? Obviously, this is the things that we're talking about, but you must come across a lot of diasporas that don't want to go back to Africa, that are comfortable in Europe and comfortable in America. And could you let us know insightful? I think there's a lot of things that I said, but I think the main thing is, if you could comment on what would you say to diasporas that are currently living abroad?
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Moderator. To take it from this angle, the UN put out figures some time back, I know it's some time back, so it would have changed by now, that the youth on the African continent are 226 million. Okay, now, VP has just told us that the entire Nigerian population, you know, that's the largest African country, right? The entire Nigeria population is over 200 million. So you can imagine that the entire Nigerian population constitutes the number of the quantum of youth on the continent of Africa. Over 200 million. I'm sure but right now we're about almost 300 million from the time that they put out these figures. And that's about 30% of the entire population of the continent. Why am I saying this? If I don't have the statistics now of how many youth are outside the continent, but I'm sure you are a lot. And that is why President Akufo-Addo recently announced the year of return in the year 2019. If you followed that development, a lot of diasporans went back home. Home is where they called Ghana. And then also it was also meant for the African continent, because after that, Nigeria took it up, South Africa took it up, it was cascading around the continent, inviting everybody, wherever you live, come back home, not to stay, but just to visit. At the time that you visit, there are programs run for you, to be able to participate, feel at home, learn, Sankofa, where's Miss Hill? Sankofa, go back, learn, and then take it back to wherever you reside. So that was the year of return. 2020, unfortunately, COVID came, was designated beyond the return, because after everybody had gone back home and 100 diasporans were given free citizenship, then now we have the beyond the return. So beyond the main event, there are other programs that are running throughout on the African continent to identify these talents abroad, because the diaspora are rich, diverse, culturally, intellectually, religiously, economically. You even make some countries' GDP, it's the remittances received from the diaspora abroad. So you're a very valuable part of every country on the continent. Wherever you are abroad, please identify your roots. At a point in your life, go back home, feel free, learn Sankofa, and then you can still reside wherever you want to reside. If I listen to Ms. Rista, yes, changing the narrative, who will change it? We have to change it ourselves. Listen to this. I traveled to Ghana, I'm coming back, and I'm told that I'm from a high-risk COVID-19 affected country, where deaths are only 300 or less. And where I am, they're counting millions of dead bodies. Who is in a high-risk country? But the narrative, our continent is dark all the time. Even when there are positives, it is dark. Is that right? No, we have to write the narratives ourselves. Why do you list the whole African continent in this time of COVID and the recovery that we are in a high-risk zone? How is that? When you are counting millions and we are just in the hundreds, or some countries even have single digits, infection rate is low, death rate is low, but still you identify the continent as a high-risk zone. How is that? And now the airlines are being charged, they have to take tests before they get on board and all that. It is just not right. And it's because of the narrative, and it has to be changed, but by ourselves. And ourselves are those in the diaspora first, because you need to educate the people where you are. You need to educate them in your little way, however you can do it, wherever you are. And then for us on the continent too, when you visit, bring your rich experiences to bear. Sometimes it's quite difficult. Some of you don't feel welcome, but you must understand people like to protect their turf back home. But it is good that you make a few compromises and sacrifices when you go back home, and bring your experiences to bear, because you have it, you are rich with it, you have exposure, you've learned new things, but there are also good things to learn on the continent. I'm not saying the continent is devoid of good things, nice things. Yes, we have all the raw materials you can think of. Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire put together, we supply the cocoa.
You're mute.
You're mute, sorry, Ambassador.
We are bound in cocoa and chocolate, Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire put together. We supply the world's chocolate, the world's cocoa beans, 75%, and 65% of that comes to the EU. But there are children on the continent who have never tasted chocolate, if you ask them today. And that is because we haven't industrialized. And that is where I'm saying that this digitization, this artificial intelligence, this robotics, all these things that are going on now, we need to retool the youth so that you can also be able to take on the generations and the new things coming up. We need to industrialize.
Jonathan, would you like to maybe have a comment in terms of data and innovation as from your background? And please state where your background is, and please.
Yes, thank you so much, Ikram. So I'm Jonathan Aina. I'm the Assistant Director of the IT Department for ACP-DYSS.
Sorry, Madam. Sorry, Madam Ambassador. The reason why I didn't mean to cut you off. It was just that I think you're
interactive. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just that I think he was going to add more comments in terms of your. But thank you so much for answering my question, and that was really powerful. So I didn't mean to cut you off. If I did, apologize.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ikram, and thank you so much, Madam Ambassador. I think even when you gave your first comment, you did mention these, and it's a really powerful thing that you mentioned it. And also coming from an IT background, so I had my studied computer science. Currently work as a data engineer with Bloomberg, and I also run a telemedicine company, in Nigeria using IT technology to actually provide medical services to people in the grassroots. So, I'm based in the UK, but there are opportunities here, there are opportunities in the EU, but I decided to go back home because I know my people actually need this. And this is the kind of powerful thing that we want to drive in ACP-DYSS. Let's see a problem, let's identify it, let's work with people in the grassroots. Let's speak to them, understand the nuances of this problem, and work hand in hand with them to actually provide a solution. And just like Madam President mentioned, Madam Ambassador mentioned, it's important that even as we do this, we actually train our people as well. And that's the next step that we're working on. We're having conversations internally. We want to train people. I have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to technology, machine learning, artificial intelligence, name it. I want to go back home and teach my people how to do these things. Because when we can do it, we don't need to contract it out to, the Europeans. We don't have to, because we have this knowledge. And individually, my people, my brothers, we work in huge organizations. When we come on board, they call us, they say, Jonathan, what do you have to add to this solution that we're building? Because they respect us. They know we have the intelligence. But when it actually comes to us, when it comes to Africa, just very similar to what people have been mentioning, there's a different narrative. Whenever they see the African country or the continent as a whole, there's a different narrative. There's a bad narrative around it, and we have to change it. We have to work together. We need to see ourselves as one body. They try to, paint us in a way that it divides us. We see ourselves as individuals, but no. If you're taking me on board with you, you're taking the entire African continent with you. So you speak about the African continent and don't speak about Jonathan alone. Sometimes they say, oh, this thing about Africa, but Jonathan, you're different. I'm telling you, no. I'm an African, it's about Africa, and I'm representing Africa. This is who we are. If there are few people that do other things, it's everywhere. But your narrative, when you want to paint your own story, you paint it differently. But when you want to tell my own story, you tell it in a different way. And we need to educate ourselves. All the things that we've learned, all the exposures that we've had, we need to pass this on to the people in the grassroots. I speak to people back home, and what they want to think about is, going away from Africa. I'm looking for an opportunity to travel out. I say, no, there are opportunities in Africa. I'm outside of Africa, but I want to go back to Africa because I know there are opportunities. I know Africa will be great, but we need to work together, and we are really, really working. We have a very good structure, just as you've all seen, as everyone has presented. We have these great pillars. We're re-educating ourselves, and we want to make a change. And we're going to make sure that we do that collectively and not as individuals. But thank you all so much. I really, it's been an amazing day. Thank you.
Congratulations to you all. This has been wonderful. And I congratulate you on this launch. Long live ACP-DYSS. Madam President, I wait for you. I hope to see you in Brussels soon with the VP if possible. I have to leave, and I just want to say bye-bye. I really have been honored, and I did enjoy the time I spent with you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. You'll see us there. Thank you for the invitation and for gracing our occasion. Have a lovely journey back.
Bye. All the best.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We have a lot of got a few more hands raised. What would you like? Should we carry on with the discussions or close it as there, Stephen?
I think we just have to take. Let's just take 2 more questions and then we close. And then we have 5. Let's say 5 more minutes and we close.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to go on to, and I do apologize. Please correct me by your pronunciation of your name. Joame? Joame?
Yes, Ijoma.
Oh, thank you. Welcome. Please state your full name and where you're currently calling from.
Okay. Can you let me on my video?
Yes, please. Grace us
Oh.
with your video. Thank you.
My name is Ijoma Ugu. It says the host has held it okay. Okay. I am Ijoma Ugu. I am calling from Nigeria.
Welcome.
So when Stephen told me about this, even before he told me about it, I had spoken to him. I had questioned him on how do we move the country forward, and then I didn't know he had a bigger plan for the whole of Africa. I live in Nigeria now, but I was in Belgium to study for 2 years for my master's, and I came back home. I found out that while I was out there, instead of seeing the reasons why I should stay back, I was seeing opportunities why I should come home. So each time I go to the supermarket, because I studied food science, food technology, each time I enter the supermarket, everything I see is the things that are there that I can actually come home to replicate. So I must admit it's been very difficult, placing your stamp on the system, because the system is quite twisted, and I know it's obtainable in most parts of Africa. But on arrival, I realized that you can't achieve anything unless you start. So I just had to start. Right now, I have been able to set up like 3 companies. The first one offers only services as a nutritional consultant. The second one is into production, agricultural production. And then the third one is more into food supplements. So it's been tough. The system is not friendly, but I'm assuring every one of us out there that it is in us, it is in our palms to bring the changes we want. We can't sit down and be wishing for some other person to make this place a better place. If we must make it a better place, we have to do it ourselves. And if we have to do it ourselves, we have to own up to it by giving it all that is in us. Sometimes I see some of you saying, yeah, I want to leave the place I am, I need to come home. Yes, that is a laudable idea. Many might think you are being foolish by leaving your comfort zone to come here. But I tell you, unless a seed dies, it's not going to be able to raise a new one. So we must give in and leave our comfort zone for us to be able to raise this continent to where we want it to be. This is our generation, and it is in our hands to raise the next generation of Africans that will make Africa again. Because right here, I am home, and I know what I see. If you get into an office, you will be frustrated out of your skin by the attitude of the people that are supposed to be servants. They actually become bosses in these offices. And who is going to make it right tomorrow? You and I. By the time we are here, I remember on arrival, I would actually go to an office hoping that with my foreign certificate, I was going to be given an opportunity to put back to the country what I learned. But I see men and women actually feeling intimidated, feeling insecure by what I have. Instead of providing us that opportunity to bring the change, their insecurity will actually prevent them from giving you a chance to put in what you have. They will tell you, oh, so you came here to show us that you came from abroad? so that tomorrow you come and get a promotion before us. Whoever thinks like that. So please, I urge every one of you who has this ability, who has the desire, who has the avenue, we are in this together, and only us can achieve the change we want. And doing what you're doing now is like a first step to it, because it is only when you have the desire that you can actually move on to implement your desire. This is an education that we have the desire to see a better Africa. And please, let us not relent on it. Let us keep moving. I see a lot of young people who tell me, how do you do it? I say, there is no road map. There is no map that you follow. You take it every day, one step at a time. Because the system is such that there is nothing consistent. You could wake up tomorrow and then what you planned for. In fact, I tell you from experience, everything you plan out there, as soon as you are stepping down from your flight, they all evaporate. If you don't know it today. So as you are returning, I urge you, it is only resilience. It is only that deep desire to make Africa great again that will keep you moving. And I am asking you, please don't get discouraged. Make all your plans and just make up your mind that you have to do what you have to do, no matter what the barrier might be. I am in it. I have seen the other side. I am seeing this side. And I must tell you, it is not easy, but it is possible. Thank you so much for starting a movement like this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was so inspirational, honestly. But you need to show us the roadmap, and you need to tell us how you got where you are today. I think that's the responsibility upon you to communicate that with us. So I hope to hear from you, honestly, because that is an inspirational story. So thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you.
Lastly but not least, I think we've got the last hand that was raised, which is Mr. Abuna. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us where you're calling from?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Where are you calling from
All
today?
right. Please. Yes, my name is Obina Unwak. I'm calling from Abuja, Nigeria.
Welcome.
Yes, and I'm the Director General of Committee of Youth on Mobilization and Sensitization. Where we focus on promoting the policies, program achievements of the federal government in a view of evaluating its policies and also ensuring that young people here in Nigeria are key into the programs of the government. Because most of the challenges that we have come to realize here is that many young people here, they don't take advantage of the government's programs and policy. So we have taken it upon ourselves through our organization to ensure that every nook and cranny here in Nigeria have our members, have our structure on ground, and to ensure that they get adequate information on what is going on here in Nigeria. Apart from that, we focus also on peace building and peaceful coexistence to make sure that they will protect our own, because the country belongs to ours. We won't allow politicians or people who feel they are unpatriotic to destroy this great country. And we are very impressed with what your organization is doing. We'll be following up what the Pacific Caribbean organization is doing so far. And we are very, very impressed. In fact, before this official unveiling, we have been following. I will be waiting for this moment. And I would believe if not for the pandemic, many of us would have been physically involved in the official unveiling of this project. And I would like to appeal to you people to extend hands of fellowship to other youth organizations that are doing well in the African continent, that are doing well, so that you people can also leverage and consolidate on what we are doing in their respective organization. So we recommend you. I will pray that God grant you wisdom, because the generation we are talking about now, this is the generation of young people, and the young people must be given adequate attention in a view to make them responsible. Because if you fail to make this current generation responsible, be responsible to face the irresponsible of their
Yeah, I think your signal, but honestly, we'll communicate and
to recommend the organization for the good work they are doing, especially the director in charge of governance, because what the Nigerian system is focusing on leverage on that department. Hello?
yeah, I was just going to say thank you very much, Mr. Obuena. I think there's the connection. Oh, I think the connection is better now. Yeah. But we will communicate.
Yes,
Stephen, would you like to?
Just like I say, we are happy. I'll be willing to shake hands of fellowship with two people. We are willing to partner to see how we can contribute our own quota from this. Because when we talk about sensation, we will be glad to have hands of fellowship with the organization so that we can be carried along in every processes, in every policies that you're bringing on board that has to do with youth. We'll be happy to have hands of fellowship on that regard. So I want to commend you guys and pray that you don't relent to what you are doing, because the future of young people depends on we, the young leaders, they are looking up to. So let's focus on this. And I'm glad to be part of the people that you're invited as special guests. So thank you very much. And I wish you success.
Thank you very much, and sorry for interrupting you. It was just, I think there was an issue with the connection, so I do apologize. Stephen, would you like to make any comment, or Madam President, in terms of?
I'm going to bring in the director. I think that's the last question, but I would like Gladys and Chinwe in the aspect of I know Gladys talked about the aspect of the bed, and also Chinwe talked about the aspect of agriculture. I just wanted to share a view with respect to we are having much organizations coming now. Some have talked about advocacy so much, and also some talk about the aspect of social integration. But I would want to hear their views, both from the aspect of agriculture, their views on the aspect of engaging the youth, and how they intend to look at that. Gladys, if you don't mind, look at it from your point of social integration and welfare.
Hello, Mr. Obina. Thank you very much for your question. And we are very excited to start working together and achieving the same goal. This is something that we have not done as a continent. We need to remember that all these boundaries that were created during colonial days, they were created by the white man or the Caucasians. So we need now to have a different kind of mindset and look at these problems in a way that we recognize that it doesn't matter which country you're from. You might be from Nigeria, you might be from Kenya, you might be from any other African country, but we are all facing the same kind of issues. And that's why ACP-DYSS is here to solve these problems. And once they've solved them in one country, they reapply that strategy to the next to the other country. So thank you very much. I think that's what I'll say for now. But thank you very much for being here with us.
I don't know if Chinwe, you'd like to share a light on your part, looking from your department.
Daddy. Daddy.
Wait.
Daddy. 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 Daddy.
Mary, you could go for yours. I don't think Chinwe is ready. Mary, do you have any views on that?
Something was wrong with my computer, so it's okay now, right? Okay. So I think everybody here that has contributed, I said a lot has been said, and everything has been said are very correct and very motivating. Going back to what is very good about our strategy in ACP-DYSS is that we have set our operational strategy in such a way that whatever we want to achieve, both in all the fields, in all the departments, in all the issues that we need to tackle, can be done separately, together, separately by the grassroots, separately by the diaspora, and also together. So we intend to work together, re-educate ourselves, engaging in so much discussions in, for example, in agriculture, because agriculture is a very major area we need to, in fact, agriculture is our life in Africa, in the Caribbean, in the Pacific. So we need to re-educate. First of all, we need to find out what the problem is. Most of the time, we do not know where to start. So if you find out what the problem is, that's the only time we can give a good solution. So we have to re-educate ourselves, work together, so that we can be able to achieve solutions that are sustainable. So for now, we are open to, like somebody has already sent a proposal, somebody that has intention of having a large cassava farm in Nigeria. So he is looking forward towards ACP-DYSS to intervene or help in suggestion in any way. So those kind of things are things we encourage, and I know that we definitely get to where we want to get to. So I would like to stop here. Thank you very much, VP.
You have rice farm. We have rice farm also.
I don't know if Mary wants to, Mary, I don't know, I'm sharing this question with you. I don't know if there's something you want to show on the aspect of advocacy that has been hammered on throughout this time.
Thank you, VP. Yeah, thank you everyone for being here today. VP, concerning advocacy, yeah, we just need to work together, as we said during our operational strategy, like re-educating ourselves. For example, the educational point of view. We have to educate the young ones on what to do as they are growing up, because we have to change the mentality of our educational system in Africa. Because things are going like the IT, the informational technology, we have to like educate them. That is not just like doing sitting in a classroom. We have to also do like the technical part of it, because most Africans, we like to just sit, study, and they don't want to work with our hands. So if we change our mindset, that using our hands to do something, it's also going to change, also going to develop our countries. So with advocacy, that is what I will be doing concerning education. Thank you.
You kind of mentioned about technology there. I don't know if Kola, you have a discussion that is now up and running with respect to training and consultancy and media. Is that something you are looking to throw more light with respect to your department as well, Kola?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you, Mr. VP. And like you mentioned, we have a plan in place, especially using online portals to provide educational materials in different industries. There's actually, although a huge part of this is starting in Nigeria, there's a platform we're working on called educatenigerians.com. And the goal really is to create a portal where educators and innovators can actually go to provide content. And this content will be provided free in most cases, just to ensure that people have access to materials. Especially like when you go online and you Google to find information about either farming, just like we're discussing agriculture, most cases the results you get are results that really pertain to countries outside of Africa as to how they've really done agriculture. But there is no localized content that helps people get the right information to really be innovative or creative. So the goal really is to use technology to start doing the best that we can to provide education in different African countries. But we start from where our strength is, and then we build from that. So that's really a summary of the educational plan using technology that we have in place.
I'll hand over back to Ikram. Ikram, you could go ahead with your next point. Next agenda. Thank you.
Last but not least is just to follow us on our, to thank everyone for joining us today. I'm sorry for going over. So yeah, just in terms of our networking, how can you join us? Where can you follow us on? I've put the link for the Facebook link, the Instagram link, the LinkedIn and Twitter. But if you'd also like to be a country representative, as the ambassador have suggested that we need to have more interactions with Ghana, please volunteer. You can volunteer by following our current on our website, which is www.acp-DYSS.org/ so you can follow us on that, and I would give it back to Stephen to do the last few remarks.
Just want to say on the last slide, thank you everyone for joining us today. It was very welcoming. We did enjoy your participation. And I also want to use this opportunity to thank the embassies, the Embassy of Ghana, the Embassy of Dominican Republic, the Embassy of Gambia, and also the Embassy of Zambia that have participated with us today. I want to thank the directors, Madam President, yourself, and I also want to thank our moderator. Thank you all for gracing the event with us, and we hope to see you guys and work with you. Thank you. Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye. Bye.